Darkness, a profound stillness, and then the faint glimmer of countless stars. And yet, what if infinity isn't merely a feature of the vast universe above, but a hidden framework behind everything we know, woven into the very fabric of existence itself? The universe extends far beyond the limits of human imagination. There is no edge, no center, only a continuum that stretches endlessly, a cosmos without boundary, whispering of a scale too immense for our minds to fully grasp. Long ago, humans believed Earth was the center of all things, the pivot around which the heavens spun. That belief was shattered by minds willing to question certainty. Copernicus with his heliocentric vision, Galileo pointing his telescope to the stars, Hubble unveiling galaxies that drift far beyond our Milky Way. Each discovery cracked the shell of established thought, each revelation sounding like distant thunder through the halls of human conviction. Infinity, in its essence, challenges comprehension, embodying something without limit, something immeasurable and boundless. In mathematics and physics, infinity is not a number to be counted, but a concept that transcends the ordinary, a symbol of limitlessness. To sense it, imagine counting endlessly, 1, 2, 3, never ceasing, numbers spiraling upward without ever stopping. No matter how high one counts, a higher number always exists. Similarly, consider taking any number and dividing it again and again by 2. The results shrink endlessly, inching closer to 0, yet never truly arriving there. This endless progression, the never-reached point, is infinity in action, a concept that manifests both in abstraction and reality. In the cosmos, infinity appears in many guises. The universe may have no edge, stretching without boundary in all directions. Time itself could be infinite, flowing endlessly into past and future, never halting. Some theories even suggest an infinite number of universes within a grand multiverse, each with its own rules and realities. Confronting infinity forces us to grapple with our own limitations. It is a mirror reflecting the finite nature of the human mind, while simultaneously inviting curiosity and awe. Mathematicians approach infinity with precision, not as a numeral but as a principle. Set theory, for instance, explores infinite sets, collections of elements without end. The simplest, countable infinity aligns with the sequence of natural numbers, one-to-one correspondence stretching forever. But some infinities are larger, as Georg Cantor famously showed. The set of real numbers, unlike the natural numbers, is uncountably infinite, a magnitude beyond intuitive reckoning. Cantor's revelation revealed a hierarchy of infinities, each with its own size, shattering assumptions about what endless truly means. Calculus, too, wrestles with infinity. Limits describe how variables behave as they grow without bound, helping mathematicians understand asymptotic behavior, extreme growth, and the subtle approach of functions to infinity. In geometry, infinity appears as well. In projective geometry, parallel lines meet at a point at infinity, allowing us to reason about structures that extend beyond ordinary perception. Even with these tools, the concept of infinity remains elusive, resisting simplification because it defies the constraints of finite understanding. Our brains are wired for tangible quantities, objects that begin and end. Infinity is fundamentally different. It has no edge, no boundary, no finality. We attempt to visualize it through large numbers or endless sequences, but true infinity surpasses such representations. Yet this very challenge propels human ingenuity, inspiring mathematicians, physicists, and cosmologists to develop new tools to push the boundaries of thought and to explore realms far beyond everyday experience. Infinity drives discovery, demanding that we stretch our minds and confront the unimaginable. Nature itself offers glimpses of infinity. Fractals, for example, reveal endless self-similarity. Romanesco broccoli spirals repeat at ever smaller scales, theoretically continuing without limit. Coastlines measured with increasing precision grow longer and more intricate the closer we examine them, hinting at an infinite complexity in even the simplest natural forms. In biology, the combinations of genes through sexual reproduction approach infinity, producing limitless variations that fuel evolution, ensuring that life continually reinvents itself in endless forms. The cosmos presents perhaps the most staggering example of infinity. The observable universe teems with galaxies, stars, and planets, yet current models suggest this might be only a finite window into an unending expanse. There could be infinite galaxies, infinite stars, and perhaps even infinite versions of worlds like ours. each existing in the immensity of space. And time, intertwined with this cosmic infinity, introduces temporal infinity, the notion that time might stretch forever, both backward and forward. The implications are profound. If time has no beginning or end, then every conceivable event could occur, perhaps repeating endlessly in a cosmic cycle. Infinity in time and space forces us to confront both physical and philosophical questions. Does the universe truly have a beginning, as the Big Bang suggests, or has it always existed in some form? Could the cosmos one day end through heat death or a collapse, or does it persist forever? The tension between our intuitive notions of infinite time and the physical constraints of reality illustrates how infinity challenges understanding at every level, forcing us to reconsider the fundamental nature of existence. Even within mathematics, infinity is multifaceted. Countable infinity, the endless sequence of natural numbers, is only the beginning. Beyond it lies uncountable infinity, where the continuum of real numbers cannot be paired with the natural numbers, illustrating that some infinities surpass others in magnitude. This hierarchy of the infinite pushes beyond intuition, demanding new ways of thinking about quantity, scale, and the limits of comprehension. Darkness, silence, and the endless stars remind us that infinity is not merely a theoretical abstraction. It is woven into the spirals of a broccoli, the intricate twists of a coastline, the combinations of genes, the sprawling galaxies, and the flow of time itself. It is an ever-present invitation to ponder, to explore, to stretch the mind beyond its comfort zone. Infinity is not something to conquer or fully grasp. It is a horizon of thought, a vastness that both humbles and inspires, a reminder of the boundless mysteries still waiting to be understood. However, even this astonishing notion of endlessness pales in comparison to the concept of larger infinities, realms of quantity that defy the imagination and stretch far beyond the simple countable numbers we first learn in childhood. Among these more expansive infinities is the set of real numbers, a collection that encompasses every rational number, such as 1/2 or 3/4, alongside irrational numbers, which cannot be expressed as a simple fraction, like the square root of 2, 2, or pi. Unlike the infinite set of natural numbers, which, though endless, can be paired one-to-one with counting numbers, the set of real numbers is uncountable. There is no conceivable way, not even with unlimited time or patience, to list every real number. This was rigorously proven by the German mathematician Georg Cantor, who revealed that the infinity of real numbers is profoundly larger than that of natural numbers, opening the door to a hierarchy of infinities that ascends without limit. For every infinity we can define, it is possible to construct an even larger one. In this way, infinity is not a single monolithic concept, but a landscape of ever-expanding magnitudes that stretches beyond the bounds of ordinary comprehension. Long before Cantor's revolutionary work, human civilizations wrestled with the idea of infinity, often intertwining it with religious, philosophical, and cosmological thought. The ancient Greeks, particularly the Pythagoreans, approached infinity with trepidation. To them, the universe was an ordered, finite realm, and the notion of an unending continuum seemed almost sacrilegious. In contrast, thinkers in ancient India embraced infinity as an integral part of their worldview. Hindu cosmology envisioned an infinite universe, governed by cycles of creation, preservation, and destruction, harmonizing with beliefs in reincarnation and the eternal nature of the soul. Similarly, while ancient Egyptian and Mesopotamian cultures did not explicitly theorize about infinity, their sophisticated number systems allowed them to handle enormous quantities, laying the intellectual foundation for later explorations of boundlessness. In China, philosophers of the Mohist school contemplated infinity indirectly through discussions of geometry and physics, examining the divisibility of space and time and thereby touching upon the infinitely small and infinitely large. Cantor's theory of transfinite numbers fundamentally altered our understanding of these abstract realms. His insight was startling, yet elegant. Not all infinities are created equal. Through the principle of one-to-one correspondence, Cantor demonstrated that even the set of all even numbers is the same size as the set of natural numbers, despite the apparent discrepancy in quantity. Each natural number can be uniquely paired with an even number, creating a perfect match that defies intuition. Building upon this, Cantor showed that the set of real numbers could not be paired one-to-one with the natural numbers. This uncountable infinity exists on a higher plane than the countable infinity of integers, establishing the groundbreaking notion of multiple levels, or cardinalities, of infinity. These discoveries became the bedrock of modern set theory and reshaped mathematics, philosophy, and even the human imagination itself, demonstrating that infinity is a rich and structured concept rather than a mere abstract abstraction. Infinity intertwines with the notion of eternity, together forming a conceptual framework that stretches the human mind to its limits. While infinity describes endless quantity or unbounded extent, eternity speaks to infinite time, a timeline without beginning or end. These intertwined ideas challenge our comprehension of existence, both mathematical and cosmological. In mathematics, infinity serves as a tool to describe quantities beyond any limit, yet its implications spill over into cosmology. Some contemporary theories propose that the universe itself may be infinite, extending endlessly in all directions, and if so, it may exist eternally, without temporal beginning or end. The idea of eternal time introduces profound questions about cyclic universes, endless cosmic repetition, and the very nature of existence, suggesting that our cosmos may persist indefinitely, or even give rise to new universes in an unbroken cycle. Yet infinity is not merely a theoretical abstraction, it produces paradoxes that challenge intuition and reason. Consider the Hilbert's Hotel paradox. A hotel with an infinite number of fully occupied rooms can still accommodate new guests simply by moving each occupant to the next room, leaving the first room empty. Or consider the infinite series paradox, such as the sum of 1 plus 1/2 plus 1/4, and so on, which approaches but never quite reaches 2. These examples demonstrate that an infinite number of terms can yield a finite sum, upending our intuitive grasp of addition. Zeno's paradoxes, such as Achilles and the tortoise, reveal similar tensions between mathematical infinity and physical reality. Theoretically, Achilles never overtakes the tortoise if he must always cover half the remaining distance, highlighting the challenges of reconciling infinite divisibility with the tangible world. These paradoxes illuminate the complexity of infinity, forcing us to confront the limitations of human logic and prompting further exploration of both mathematical and philosophical frontiers. The observable universe offers a tangible glimpse into this cosmic scale. Stretching in every direction to the limits of human detection, it spans approximately 93 billion light-years in diameter and contains hundreds of billions of galaxies. Each galaxy hosts hundreds of billions of stars, countless planets, and myriad celestial phenomena such as nebula and black holes. Light from the farthest reaches has traveled nearly 14 billion years to reach Earth, allowing astronomers to peer into the deep past and study the evolution of galaxies, stars, and cosmic structures. Yet even this vast expanse represents only a fraction of the entire universe. The cosmos likely extends far beyond what we can see, possibly infinitely, holding mysteries forever beyond the reach of observation. To grasp the scale, light, traveling at 300,000 kilometers per second, would take 46 billion years to traverse from Earth to the edge of the observable universe, illustrating the staggering enormity of the cosmos and hinting at the incomprehensible depths of the infinite. In contemplating infinity, from the abstract heights of transfinite mathematics to the unfathomable expanse of space, we encounter the boundaries of human understanding. This journey illuminates not only the vastness of numbers and the cosmos, but also the intricate interplay between mathematics, philosophy, and cosmology, revealing a universe that is endlessly complex, infinitely mysterious, and perpetually awe-inspiring. However, it is essential to grasp that what we perceive as the universe is far from the whole reality. It is merely the slice of existence that light has had time to reveal to us since the dawn of cosmic time. Our vision is constrained by two fundamental limitations: the speed of light, which travels at a finite pace, and the universe's age, which, although vast, is not infinite. Beyond this observable boundary, there may lie a universe so immense that it stretches into the incomprehensible, possibly infinite realms. The observable universe, in essence, forms our cosmic horizon, the maximum distance from which photons, carriers of information, have journeyed long enough to reach our telescopes and eyes. Remarkably, this horizon is not static. It expands constantly, revealing more of the cosmic tapestry as billions of years pass. Yet, this expansion is subtle in nature. Galaxies do not speed through space faster than light. Instead, the very fabric of space itself stretches, gently ferrying galaxies away from one another at accelerating rates. Even so, despite the staggering scale of the observable universe, it remains only a fragment of what likely exists beyond this boundary. The true expanse of reality remains shrouded in mystery, challenging our deepest notions of space, time, and the very foundation of existence. The cosmic horizon, therefore, marks the ultimate limit of what we can see. Beyond this invisible boundary, light has not had sufficient time to traverse the distances separating us from the farthest corners of the cosmos. And yet, as the universe ages, this horizon drifts outward, gradually granting glimpses of more distant cosmic regions. Its significance is profound. It delineates the edge of the universe we can directly study, providing the framework for understanding cosmic structures and their evolution over time. Every observation we make, from the faint glimmer of distant stars to the intricate weave of galactic clusters, exists within this horizon, rendering it a cornerstone of cosmological inquiry. Crucially, the horizon is not the universe's literal edge. Space may continue indefinitely beyond what we can observe, hinting at regions forever hidden from our instruments. This hidden expanse raises tantalizing questions about the fabric of reality outside our observational reach. Additionally, the horizon offers a window into the past. The light arriving from the most distant objects has traveled for nearly the entire age of the cosmos, allowing astronomers to witness the conditions of the early universe. Through this interplay of distance and time, scientists reconstruct the universe's history, deciphering the processes that have shaped space, time, and matter itself. Measuring these immense distances is no simple feat. For nearby stars, astronomers employ parallax, observing subtle positional shifts as Earth traces its orbit around the Sun, a method effective for stars up to roughly 3,000 light-years away. Beyond these local reaches, a series of interlocking techniques, collectively called the cosmic distance ladder, enables measurement across ever greater expanses. One critical rung involves Cepheid variable stars, pulsating bodies whose luminosity rhythmically changes in direct proportion to their intrinsic brightness. By comparing this inherent glow to the star's apparent brightness as seen from Earth, distances can be calculated with astonishing precision. For even vaster reaches, type Ia supernovae serve as standard candles. These cataclysmic explosions of white dwarf stars consistently reach the same peak luminosity, allowing astronomers to gauge distances to galaxies billions of light-years away. At the largest scales, the cosmic microwave background, the faint residual glow from the Big Bang, provides a map of the early universe, while the measurement of universal expansion itself offers another yardstick. By analyzing subtle patterns in this ancient light and understanding the dynamics of space's expansion, cosmologists chart the farthest reaches of the observable cosmos. At these colossal scales, galaxies no longer appear as isolated points of light, but as parts of a vast cosmic web. Immense filaments of galaxies are interconnected across billions of light years, with threads of gas and dark matter weaving the universe's grand architecture. Superclusters, immense assemblies of thousands of galaxies, dominate these webs. Our own Milky Way resides within the Laniakea supercluster, which spans more than 500 million light-years. Yet even these monumental structures are but fragments of the cosmic web. Interspersed among these filaments lie cosmic voids, regions almost completely devoid of galaxies. The largest known void, Buddha's void, stretches 700 million light-years across, highlighting the universe's staggering emptiness alongside its grandeur. Some structures, like the Sloan Great Wall, form vast sheets of galaxies spanning over 1 billion light-years, painting the universe in patterns far beyond ordinary comprehension. Our understanding of the universe has evolved dramatically over the centuries. Ancient civilizations viewed Earth as the center of a modest cosmos, with stars affixed to a celestial sphere. This geocentric conception dominated thought for centuries, limiting awareness of the universe's true scale. The scientific revolution shattered this view. Copernicus proposed a heliocentric model, positioning the Sun at the solar system's center, while Galileo's telescopic observations unveiled innumerable stars invisible to the naked eye, hinting at a universe far vaster than previously imagined. In the early 20th century, Edwin Hubble's observations of the Andromeda Nebula revealed it as a separate galaxy, expanding the known cosmos by unimaginable proportions. Today, modern instruments show that the observable universe spans billions of light years, containing hundreds of billions of galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of stars. Yet even this observable portion is but a fragment. Beyond our cosmic horizon likely lies an even greater expanse of galaxies, stars, planets, and space itself. While direct observation remains impossible, theory suggests the universe continues beyond, potentially for hundreds of billions of light years, governed by the same physical laws that shape our observable region. Some cosmologists speculate that our universe may be one of many in a multiverse, each with its own constants and rules. A tantalizing but speculative idea, still beyond empirical verification. The universe's expansion directly shapes our cosmic perspective. As space stretches, light traveling through it elongates, shifting toward longer wavelengths in a phenomenon known as redshift. This effect grows with distance, allowing astronomers to estimate how far away galaxies lie. Simultaneously, expansion means that the most distant light is still en route, so vast regions remain invisible, forming the cosmic horizon. By peering ever deeper into space, we are looking backward in time, observing galaxies as they existed millions or even billions of years ago. Through this time-traveling lens, astronomers study the evolution of the universe itself, understanding its infancy, growth, and the intricate interplay of forces that have shaped the cosmos we inhabit today. The observable universe, then, is both a window and a frontier, a finite yet awe-inspiring segment of an existence that may be infinitely larger, constantly revealing new secrets as we reach ever further into the cosmic expanse. Furthermore, the accelerating expansion of the universe, propelled by the enigmatic force known as dark energy, paints a picture of a cosmos that is stretching ever faster into the vast unknown. Over unimaginable spans of time, this relentless expansion will drive distant galaxies beyond the reach of our observation, retreating past a cosmic horizon from which their light will never again reach Earth. In essence, the universe is slowly, inexorably hiding parts of itself from us, a reminder of the limits of human perception and the vast scale of cosmic time. To unravel the secrets of this immense expanse, astronomers rely on a sophisticated toolkit of instruments and technologies designed to capture and interpret the faintest signals from the farthest reaches of space. Telescopes, in all their forms, serve as the eyes of modern astronomy. Optical telescopes collect visible light, unveiling the brilliant dance of stars and galaxies. Radio telescopes detect the invisible radio waves emitted by celestial objects, revealing phenomena that remain hidden from human sight. Orbiting above Earth's turbulent atmosphere, space telescopes such as the Hubble Space Telescope and the James Webb Space Telescope offer unparalleled clarity, granting scientists pristine views of distant galaxies, star-forming regions, and the ghostly echoes of the early universe. Yet observing is only the first step. Spectroscopy, the study of how light interacts with matter, allows astronomers to dissect the composition, temperature, and motion of celestial objects. By analyzing the light from stars and galaxies, scientists uncover chemical signatures, track velocities, and even detect planets orbiting distant suns. This method has revolutionized our understanding of the cosmos, revealing the expansion of the universe and opening the door to the discovery of exoplanets, worlds that may harbor conditions for life far beyond our solar system. Processing the torrents of data collected by these instruments requires the might of supercomputers and sophisticated software. Simulations run on these powerful machines recreate the formation of galaxies, the violent dynamics around black holes, and the intricate evolution of cosmic structures over billions of years. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are increasingly employed to sift through this data, identifying subtle patterns and anomalies that might otherwise escape human notice. Meanwhile, ground-based observatories continue to advance the frontier of discovery. Massive installations like the Very Large Array in New Mexico and the forthcoming Extremely Large Telescope in Chile combine cutting-edge design with state-of-the-art technology, enabling humanity to peer deeper into the cosmos than ever before. These observatories do not merely capture images. They illuminate the fundamental laws governing matter, energy, and the evolution of the universe itself. The observable universe, the portion of the cosmos from which light has had time to reach us since the Big Bang, currently spans roughly 93 billion light-years in diameter. Despite the universe's age of approximately 13.8 billion years, cosmic expansion stretches the fabric of space, allowing us to see regions far beyond what the age alone might imply. Light emitted by distant galaxies has traveled for almost the entire history of the cosmos, carrying with it snapshots of ancient epochs and glimpses into the early stages of cosmic evolution. As time progresses, this observable horizon grows, revealing ever more distant regions and unlocking new windows into the universe's infancy. Scientific theories increasingly suggest that our observable universe may be a mere fragment of an infinitely larger cosmos. The concept of cosmic inflation, first proposed by physicist Alan Guth in the 1980s, posits that the universe experienced an astonishingly rapid expansion in its earliest moments. This inflationary epoch could have stretched a tiny, minuscule patch of space to encompass an enormous volume, implying that our observable universe is but a small fraction of a vastly larger, perhaps infinite, reality. Observations of the cosmic microwave background radiation suggest that the universe is nearly flat, a geometry that allows space to extend indefinitely, and lending further weight to the notion of an infinite expanse. Building on these ideas, the theory of eternal inflation, advanced by physicist André Linde, proposes that inflation never ceases entirely. Instead, it continuously generates new regions of space, creating countless bubble universes within an ever-expanding multiverse. Each bubble may have distinct physical laws, constants, and structures, forming a cosmic landscape of virtually limitless diversity. While these theories remain speculative, they offer tantalizing possibilities. The observable universe we inhabit could be just one bubble in an unending sequence of cosmic formations, each with its own story to tell. The multiverse concept stretches our imagination even further. If multiple, perhaps infinite universes exist, the realm of possibilities becomes staggering. Every conceivable outcome of every event could manifest somewhere in this vast ensemble of realities, giving rise to an intricate branching tapestry of existence. In this context, infinity is not merely a mathematical abstraction. It becomes a defining feature of reality itself, suggesting that even the most improbable events must occur somewhere, and indeed may occur infinitely many times. Adding another layer of complexity, string theory proposes that the fundamental constituents of the universe are not point-like particles, but minuscule vibrating strings of energy. These strings resonate in countless ways, giving rise to all known particles and forces. To accommodate these vibrations, string theory requires additional spatial dimensions beyond the familiar three. In such a framework, our universe might be a three-dimensional brain floating within a higher dimensional space, potentially alongside an infinite number of other brains, each representing a separate universe. These extra dimensions expand the canvas on which reality is painted, allowing for the existence of countless parallel universes or alternate realities, each with unique physical laws and constants. The concept of an infinite universe has fascinated thinkers for centuries. Observational evidence both supports and complicates this idea. The remarkable uniformity of the cosmic microwave background radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang, suggests an underlying consistency that could hint at an infinite expanse. At the same time, the full nature and extent of the cosmos remain elusive, as the vast majority of it lies beyond our observational reach, hidden by the accelerating expansion driven by dark energy. In contemplating these possibilities, humanity confronts both the immensity of the cosmos and the limitations of its understanding. The universe, in its infinite potential, challenges our notions of space, time, and reality itself. It invites us to ponder not only the history of what we can see, but also the countless unseen realms that may lie just beyond the horizon, waiting to reveal their secrets across the boundless canvas of existence. However, this remarkable uniformity observed across the cosmos can also be traced back to a phenomenon known as cosmic inflation, an extraordinary period in the universe's infancy during which space expanded at an exponential rate. This rapid expansion smoothed out initial irregularities without necessarily implying that the universe stretches infinitely in all directions. The idea of an infinite universe, while captivating, faces challenges when confronted with the observable structure of the cosmos. Detailed surveys of galaxies have revealed a vast cosmic web, a network of matter where clusters, superclusters, and filaments form patterns that appear to have an upper limit in scale. These observations hint that the universe may be finite, constrained by physical boundaries that are not immediately visible to us. Equally important in this cosmic puzzle is the curvature of space itself. By studying the cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, astronomers have measured the geometry of the universe with remarkable precision. The data indicate that space is flat, or extremely close to flat, across vast scales. While a flat universe could theoretically extend infinitely, flatness alone does not constitute proof of infinity. The combination of these structural and geometric observations leaves the true extent of the universe tantalizingly unresolved, inspiring ongoing investigation and debate among cosmologists. The enigma of dark energy further complicates our understanding of cosmic expansion and the potential for an infinite universe. This mysterious force, which constitutes roughly 68% of the energy content of the observable cosmos, exerts a repulsive influence that counterbalances gravity on the grandest scales. In the context of an unbounded universe, dark energy becomes even more consequential. It drives the acceleration of cosmic expansion, potentially allowing space to stretch indefinitely. This relentless expansion implies that distant galaxies could eventually recede from each other at speeds surpassing that of light relative to one another, forever slipping beyond our observational horizon. Consequently, the observable universe we perceive may be merely a tiny fraction of a vastly larger, or even limitless, cosmic expanse. Yet despite its profound impact, the true nature of dark energy remains one of the greatest mysteries of modern cosmology. Its properties and behavior over billions of years remain largely unknown, leaving crucial questions about the universe's long-term fate unresolved. The concept of an infinite cosmos also challenges conventional thermodynamic theories, such as the heat-death scenario. Traditionally, the heat-death theory posits that over unimaginable timescales, all energy will become evenly distributed, creating a state of maximum entropy in which no useful work can occur. In an infinite universe, however, this process becomes far more intricate. Regions beyond our observational limits might maintain lower entropy states, allowing complex structures and processes to persist indefinitely. While this does not refute the theory of heat death, it forces a reconsideration of how energy distribution and thermodynamic equilibrium operate across a universe without bounds. Adding further complexity, quantum mechanics reshapes our perception of the cosmos at the smallest scales. It reveals a world where particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously, a phenomenon known as superposition, only assuming definite properties when observed. This counterintuitive behavior challenges classical notions of reality and hints at a universe far more intricate than classical physics suggests. Quantum entanglement, where particles influence one another instantaneously regardless of distance, implies hidden connections that may operate across cosmic scales, hinting at structures or dimensions yet to be fully understood. Even seemingly empty space teems with activity. Virtual particles constantly emerge and vanish, forming a quantum foam that suggests that the vacuum is anything but empty. Some theoretical models propose that these quantum fluctuations could give rise to entire universes, potentially explaining our own existence within a broader multiverse framework. Quantum principles also illuminate phenomena such as black holes and cosmic inflation, bridging the gap between the minuscule and the unimaginably vast, offering profound insight into a potentially infinite cosmos. While the notion of an infinite universe has fascinated scientists and philosophers for centuries, alternative theories propose different cosmic architectures. The finite universe model suggests that space may be bounded, possibly curved, so that one could travel endlessly in one direction and eventually return to the starting point, reminiscent of circumnavigating a spherical planet. Multiverse theories posit the existence of countless other universes, either running parallel with variations of reality or forming independent bubble universes within a larger cosmic expanse. The holographic universe hypothesis takes a radically different view, proposing that our three-dimensional reality might emerge from information encoded on a two-dimensional boundary, drawing a parallel to the way a hologram encodes a complete image on a flat surface. Cyclic models envision the universe undergoing infinite cycles of expansion and contraction, with each iteration beginning anew through events akin to a Big Bang and eventually leading to a cosmic reset. To explore these possibilities, scientists employ a multitude of observational techniques. The cosmic microwave background radiation offers a snapshot of the universe's infancy, revealing patterns that inform us about space's overall geometry. Large-scale surveys map the distribution of galaxies and clusters to detect repeating structures that could reveal the universe's shape. Gravitational lensing, where light bends around massive objects, provides additional insights into the distribution of matter and energy, helping constrain theoretical models. Modern observatories, both terrestrial and space-based, allow astronomers to peer deeper into the cosmos and further back in time, synthesizing data from multiple sources to refine our understanding of cosmic structure, expansion, and evolution. The search for meaning within the vastness of space finds echoes in human spiritual traditions. Major monotheistic religions, while sharing belief in a single supreme deity, articulate distinct visions of God. In Judaism, God is often named Yahweh or Adoni, conceived as the eternal creator and sustainer of all existence, emphasizing transcendence and a balance of personal and abstract qualities. Christianity, emerging from Jewish tradition, maintains monotheism but introduces the Trinity, Father, Son, Jesus Christ, and Holy Spirit, distinct persons sharing one divine essence, simultaneously transcendent and intimately connected to humanity. Islam, the youngest of these traditions, refers to God as Allah, emphasizing absolute oneness, omnipotence, mercy, and the role of the divine as ultimate judge, rejecting any notion of partners or offspring. Across these and other faiths, divine attributes are commonly associated with omnipotence, the capacity to accomplish anything, omniscience, encompassing complete knowledge of past, present, and future, omnipresence, existing simultaneously everywhere, and benevolence, embodying love, compassion, and forgiveness. These spiritual perspectives, much like our scientific investigations, grapple with the immensity of existence, seeking to understand the forces, seen and unseen, that govern all of reality. The universe, whether finite, infinite, or one among countless others, remains a grand and enigmatic tapestry. Each layer, from quantum phenomena to cosmic architecture, from the subtle influence of dark energy to the ethical and metaphysical frameworks humans construct, intertwines to form an ongoing story of discovery. And in every observation, theory, and question, humanity continues its journey to comprehend the cosmos, driven by curiosity and the enduring desire to fathom the boundless beyond. Conversely, certain religious and philosophical traditions place immense emphasis on the notion of divine justice, presenting God as the ultimate arbiter who evaluates human actions, rewarding virtue and punishing wrongdoing. Within this framework, moral accountability is not merely a social or ethical principle, but a cosmic reality, woven into the fabric of existence itself. Believers often perceive divine judgment as precise, unwavering, and inherently fair, operating beyond human biases or temporal limitations. This conception of God as a just overseer reinforces the ethical dimension of faith, encouraging adherents to align their actions with divine expectations and principles. Equally compelling is the idea of God's eternal and unchanging nature. Across many spiritual traditions, the divine is conceived as existing beyond the confines of time, with no beginning and no end, a constant presence throughout the infinite expanse of existence. Unlike the mutable world of human affairs, God remains stable and consistent in character, will, and essence, serving as an anchor amid the transient and often chaotic patterns of the material world. Such an eternal perspective invites reflection on permanence versus impermanence, prompting believers to consider their lives within the context of an infinite continuum. These attributes, however, are far from uniform. They manifest differently across religions and even among adherents within the same faith. In polytheistic traditions, for example, divinity is not concentrated in a single being, but distributed among a multitude of gods and goddesses, each possessing distinct personalities, responsibilities, and spheres of influence. These divine figures often inhabit intricate pantheons where their interactions, cooperation, rivalry, familial bonds reflect both cosmic principles and human social dynamics. Unlike monotheistic religions that centralize power in a solitary, omnipotent deity, polytheistic systems spread divine authority across various beings, enabling nuanced interpretations of natural phenomena, human experiences, and abstract concepts. One deity may preside over the oceans, another over agriculture, while others embody love, war, wisdom, or destiny itself. Such specialization allows worshippers to approach particular deities for guidance, protection, or intervention in specific areas of life, creating a rich tapestry of divine human interaction. Polytheistic hierarchies often mirror human social structures, with certain gods assuming leadership roles, messenger deities facilitating communication, and lesser spirits or demigods filling intermediary functions. The relationships among these divine figures can be extraordinarily complex, encompassing alliances, rivalries, betrayals, and reconciliations. These narratives form the foundation of mythologies that communicate cultural values, moral lessons, and cosmological insights, while also humanizing the gods by attributing to them emotions, motivations, and occasional fallibilities. This anthropomorphic portrayal fosters relatability, allowing followers to feel personally connected to the divine while offering explanations for the intricacies and contradictions of the natural world through divine drama and interaction. The spectrum of divine perception expands further when contrasting the concept of a personal God with that of an impersonal one. A personal God is often imagined as a conscious, sentient being capable of thought, emotion, and direct engagement with creation. Individuals may cultivate a relationship with this deity through prayer, worship, or devotion, experiencing God as intimately involved in their lives. Monotheistic religions such as Christianity, Islam, and Judaism frequently emphasize this personal aspect, portraying God as both approachable and sovereign. Conversely, an impersonal God is conceptualized less as an individual being and more as a pervasive cosmic principle or ultimate reality. In this perspective, God is not attributed human-like qualities but represents an all-encompassing force, energy, or universal law. Certain philosophical and Eastern religious traditions, including aspects of Hinduism and Buddhism, lean toward this interpretation, framing divinity as an impersonal totality with which adherents seek alignment through meditation, mindfulness, or disciplined spiritual practice. The distinction between personal and impersonal conceptions of God profoundly shapes religious experience. Those devoted to a personal deity may emphasize moral accountability, divine intervention, and individual destiny, while adherents of an impersonal divine principle often focus on harmony with cosmic rhythms, the dissolution of ego, and the recognition of interdependence among all forms of existence. These divergent understandings influence not only spiritual practices, but also broader worldviews, shaping notions of self, community, and the ultimate purpose of life. Mystical traditions across faiths frequently transcend conventional notions of God, offering interpretations that challenge ordinary comprehension. In many mystical frameworks, God is not a separate entity but an all-pervading presence, the underlying essence of reality itself. Islamic Sufism, for example, often portrays God as the beloved, with mystics seeking union through the dissolution of personal ego into the divine essence, a state referred to as fana. Hindu mysticism, particularly in the Advaita Vedanta school, conceives Brahman as the formless, eternal reality underlying all existence, encouraging adherents to recognize their true nature as inseparable from this ultimate essence. Christian mystics, including figures like Meister Eckhart, articulate God as the groundless ground of being, emphasizing the ineffable and unknowable aspects of divinity. Even Buddhist mystical thought, though not centered on a creator deity, engages with concepts of ultimate reality or emptiness that transcend ordinary perception. Across these diverse traditions, a shared theme emerges: the illusory nature of separation between self and the cosmos, and the pursuit of direct experiential knowledge of unity and non-duality. Omnipotence is another attribute frequently ascribed to God in both philosophical discourse and religious thought. An omnipotent deity is envisioned as possessing limitless power, capable of affecting any outcome that is logically possible. This concept stretches the imagination, suggesting that such a being could create and destroy worlds, manipulate the very laws of nature, and orchestrate the unfolding of time and events according to divine wisdom. Omnipotence encompasses not only physical power, but mastery over every dimension of existence, allowing for miracles, extraordinary interventions, and the meticulous guidance of the universe's destiny. Contemplating such limitless capability invites both awe and philosophical inquiry, prompting questions about freedom, morality, and the interplay between divine power and human agency. In examining these multifaceted conceptions of God, just, eternal, personal or impersonal, mystical, and omnipotent, one witnesses the incredible diversity of human attempts to understand, relate to, and experience the divine. Across cultures, epochs, and spiritual systems, these reflections illuminate the profound, persistent human desire to comprehend the mysteries of existence and to find meaning within a universe that is at once ordered, chaotic, intimate, and infinite. However, the notion of omnipotence opens a doorway into some of the most fascinating and enduring philosophical puzzles humanity has ever grappled with. Imagine, for instance, the classic question: could a being of unlimited power create a stone so massive that even that being itself could not lift it? This seemingly simple thought experiment unfolds into a complex labyrinth of paradoxes, challenging our very understanding of what it means to possess limitless power. It forces us to confront the boundaries of logic, the nature of possibility, and the limits of human comprehension, prompting centuries of debate among theologians, philosophers, and thinkers from diverse intellectual traditions. The concept of divine omnipotence is far from uniform. It shifts and transforms across cultures, religions, and philosophical schools of thought. In some traditions, omnipotence is envisioned as absolute, unrestricted authority over all existence, a limitless force unbound by any law or constraint. In other frameworks, it is more nuanced, understood as the capacity to accomplish anything that is logically coherent and aligned with the essential nature and purpose of the divine. Across these interpretations, the divine is frequently depicted as engaging with reality in ways that transcend the ordinary limitations of time, space, and causality. In many monotheistic traditions, such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the divine is portrayed as existing outside of time and space, entirely beyond the physical constraints that govern human life. God, in these perspectives, is eternal, without beginning or end, omnipresent, and able to act everywhere simultaneously. This transcendent vision allows believers to conceive of God as both intimately involved in the universe and yet fundamentally beyond human understanding, offering a framework in which divine power and presence are inexhaustible and all-encompassing. In contrast, Hinduism presents a more layered and intricate vision of the ultimate reality, often expressed through the concept of Brahman. Certain schools of Hindu thought describe Brahman as simultaneously immanent within the universe and transcendent beyond it, permeating all of space and time, while also existing beyond their limitations. This duality presents a vision of the divine as both intimately accessible and profoundly other, a presence that underpins the cosmos, yet eludes complete human comprehension. Buddhism, which does not center on a creator deity, approaches these questions from an entirely different angle, focusing instead on the nature of reality, impermanence, and the construct of time itself. Many Buddhist teachings suggest that time and space may not exist as absolute entities, but are instead constructs of the mind, shaping human perception rather than defining an ultimate objective reality. Here, the inquiry shifts from the power of a deity to the very nature of existence, the transience of all phenomena, and the ways in which consciousness shapes experience. Ancient polytheistic traditions, meanwhile, often situated their gods firmly within the world, assigning them power that was immense yet bounded by the universe itself. These deities were frequently tied to specific locales, natural forces, or societal domains, embodying the rhythms and limitations of the physical world, rather than existing as entirely transcendent beings. The gods of these cultures were deeply entwined with human life, agriculture, seasons, and natural phenomena, offering guidance and protection while remaining part of the cosmic order they inhabited. The philosophical notions of transcendence and immanence offer two complementary lenses for understanding the divine. Transcendence emphasizes the separation of the divine from the material universe, presenting God or ultimate reality as wholly other, existing beyond human experience and beyond physical reality itself. Immanence, conversely, suggests that the divine is woven into the fabric of existence, present in every aspect of creation, and intimately connected to human experience and the natural world. These perspectives are not mutually exclusive. Many religious and philosophical traditions hold that the divine can be both beyond the universe and within it, navigating a delicate balance between remoteness and intimacy. This interplay profoundly shapes how humans relate to the divine, framing ethical systems, spiritual practices, and even scientific and metaphysical inquiries. For those outside religious belief, atheism and agnosticism offer alternative frameworks for contemplating these questions. Atheists, at their core, reject belief in any deity, asserting that the natural world can be understood without recourse to supernatural explanations. They emphasize empirical observation, rational inquiry, and scientific methodology as the most reliable guides to understanding reality. Agnostics, meanwhile, occupy a middle ground, acknowledging that the existence of a divine being may be unknowable or currently beyond the reach of human knowledge. Some agnostics remain open to the possibility of higher powers, while others lean toward skepticism, underscoring the limits of human cognition and the ongoing quest for evidence and understanding. Both atheistic and agnostic perspectives often regard gods and religious frameworks as human constructions, emerging from the innate desire to explain the unknown, find meaning in life, and impose order upon a chaotic universe. The sheer diversity of religious beliefs across cultures and historical periods is frequently cited as evidence that the divine is not a singular, universal truth, but a spectrum of interpretations shaped by human experience, social structures, and cultural contexts. Faith, for those who embrace it, functions as a bridge between human experience and the divine, allowing believers to navigate a world that cannot be entirely captured by reason or observation alone. Faith provides a framework for understanding existence, shaping moral choices, inspiring acts of devotion, and creating a sense of connection with a reality that transcends empirical measurement. It is within this space that humans often find comfort, guidance, and purpose, trusting in a higher power and seeking meaning beyond the tangible and measurable. In this way, faith complements human curiosity and reason, offering a lens through which the mysteries of the universe and the nature of existence can be contemplated, felt, and lived. The exploration of omnipotence, transcendence, and immanence, whether approached through philosophy, theology, or personal reflection, reveals the profound complexity of human attempts to grasp the infinite. It is a journey through paradox, cultural diversity, and the limits of comprehension, one that continues to inspire debate, wonder, and awe as humanity seeks to understand its place in a cosmos that is vast, mysterious, and endlessly compelling. However, the role of faith in the human pursuit of understanding the divine is far from uniform. Across different cultures, religions, and philosophical traditions, the way people approach the concept of God varies enormously. In some traditions, faith is cultivated through personal revelation, moments of spiritual insight, mystical experiences, or an inner sense of connection to the transcendent. In others, understanding comes primarily from engagement with sacred texts, adherence to long-standing religious traditions, or disciplined philosophical reasoning. Faith in these contexts functions not merely as belief, but as the very scaffolding upon which comprehension of the divine is constructed. Yet, it is crucial to recognize that the interplay between faith and understanding is intensely personal, shaped by individual experience, cultural background, and intellectual inclination. For some, faith is the indispensable gateway to perceiving the nature of God. For others, alternative pathways, scientific investigation, rational analysis, or philosophical reflection offer equally valid insights into ultimate reality. Exploring the concept of an infinite God brings us to an even deeper level of contemplation, touching on ideas that stretch human imagination and intellect. The term infinite in theology and philosophy suggests a being wholly unbounded in every conceivable sense, unrestricted by time, space, knowledge, or power. When we speak of God as infinite in time, we confront a reality without beginning or end, a timeless existence that stands in stark contrast to the finite, linear experience of life as humans perceive it. Extending this infinitude to knowledge and power, the notion of an infinite God entails perfect awareness of all that has occurred, all that is occurring, and all that could ever occur. This omniscience, paired with omnipotence, implies a capacity to act in any way that is logically possible. The concept of infinity, especially when attributed to a divine being, challenges the very limits of human comprehension. We are finite creatures, navigating a universe that seems vast yet measurable. Imagining an existence that transcends all boundaries invites reflection on the nature of reality itself. Across religious traditions, the infinite character of God is a recurring theme. In Christianity, the Bible describes God as eternal, existing beyond the constraints of time and space, a truth poetically captured in texts like Psalm 145, which declares that God's greatness is beyond measure. Similarly, Islamic theology emphasizes Allah's boundless and all-encompassing nature, using the term al-wasi to express divine vastness and unlimited knowledge, reinforced repeatedly in Quranic verses, highlighting omnipresence and omniscience. Hindu philosophy speaks of Brahman, the ultimate reality, as limitless and eternal, often illustrated through metaphors like an infinite ocean of consciousness. Even traditions that do not center on a personal deity, such as Buddhism, explore concepts akin to infinity, sunyata, or emptiness, signifies the limitless and incomprehensible nature of reality beyond conceptual grasp. This notion of infinity becomes especially fascinating and perplexing when considered alongside divine omniscience. In mathematics and cosmology, infinity represents something unbounded, an expanse without limit. When applied to knowledge, it suggests complete understanding encompassing all possible information. The omniscient God, as described in many religious frameworks, possesses perfect knowledge of past, present, and potential future events. But this raises profound philosophical questions. If the universe, or perhaps a multiverse, is infinite, containing endless possibilities, can even an all-knowing being truly comprehend every aspect? Some argue that absolute omniscience must include awareness of infinity itself, a grasp of the most abstract and far-reaching concepts. Others suggest that infinity, by its very nature, eludes complete understanding, creating a paradox that stimulates endless debate among theologians, philosophers, and scientists alike. This tension illuminates the boundaries of knowledge, consciousness, and the divine, reminding us that inquiry into God's nature is simultaneously a philosophical, spiritual, and scientific endeavor. Equally compelling is the interplay between God's omnipresence and the possibility of an infinite universe. Across religious traditions, God is described as present everywhere simultaneously, a being not confined by physical dimensions or temporal limitations. This omnipresence resonates strikingly with the concept of a universe that may be limitless. Modern cosmology estimates the observable universe to span at least 93 billion light-years in diameter, with the possibility of realms beyond our observational reach, and some theories even posit multiple universes or dimensions. If the cosmos is truly infinite, it aligns with the vision of a deity that pervades all existence, an entity whose presence transcends any spatial or temporal boundary. These reflections, bridging theology and cosmology, invite profound contemplation. The infinite, the omniscient, and the omnipresent converge in a dialogue that stretches across human thought, urging us to explore not just the universe, but the very essence of being itself. In essence, the study of faith, infinity, and divine attributes is a journey into the most profound mysteries of existence. It is a journey that reveals both the vastness of what lies beyond human perception and the intimate ways in which individuals seek to understand and connect with the transcendent. The infinite God, whether envisioned as a personal being, an ultimate reality, or an all-pervading presence, challenges us to think beyond the boundaries of everyday experience, to question, to imagine, and to marvel at the limitless possibilities inherent in the cosmos and in consciousness itself. However, it is crucial to recognize that the notion of infinity within the physical universe remains a deeply complex and unresolved topic, one that continues to spark intense debate and meticulous investigation among scientists and cosmologists. The universe, in its vast and unfathomable expanse, challenges the very limits of human perception, Astronomers observe galaxies stretching billions of light years across, while quantum physicists delve into the infinitesimally small particles that underpin the fabric of reality. Infinity, in this context, is not merely a theoretical abstraction. It is a lens through which the boundaries of existence itself are questioned. From a theological perspective, the presence of a divine being throughout an infinite universe offers a profoundly compelling interpretation. The concept of God's omnipresence in a cosmos without end suggests that divinity permeates every corner of creation, no matter how distant or minuscule. It implies a universal connectivity, a subtle yet powerful thread binding together galaxies, stars, planets, and even the tiniest subatomic particles. This perspective invites us to envision existence not as fragmented or isolated, but as a unified, interwoven tapestry where divine essence flows uninterrupted through all matter, time, and space. Equally striking is the notion of infinite love when attributed to a divine entity. Unlike human experiences of affection, which are bounded by circumstance, understanding, or even mortality, divine love is often described as unconditional, limitless, and eternal. Such a concept stretches the imagination, inviting contemplation of a love that extends to every being, every moment, and every corner of reality simultaneously. It is a love unshaken by the passage of time, unaffected by choices or actions, a constant presence underlying the entirety of existence. The implications of such infinite love provoke profound philosophical and existential inquiries. If divine love is boundless, how does it coexist with the presence of suffering, injustice, or malevolence in the world? This paradox, often referred to as the problem of evil, has engaged theologians, philosophers, and thinkers for centuries. One approach to this dilemma emphasizes human free will. The freedom to act morally, to choose virtue or vice, is granted by the divine, making evil a consequence of choice, rather than a creation of the divine will. Another approach frames evil as a necessary foil for good, a mechanism through which moral growth, spiritual insight, and the development of compassion become possible. Yet some scholars contend that the limitations of human understanding prevent us from fully grasping the infinite wisdom and ultimate purpose underlying the coexistence of good and evil. The theological concept of divine simplicity adds another layer to the discussion. According to this idea, God is entirely unified, lacking any internal divisions or separable attributes. Omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence are not distinct qualities, but expressions of a singular, indivisible essence. In this sense, infinity is not a measure or quantity, but a fundamental characteristic of being. God, as a perfectly simple and unified entity, embodies an existence without bounds, restrictions, or fragmentation. This oneness resonates with the notion of perfection, portraying an ultimate, unbounded state that reflects the purest form of reality. Mathematical infinity provides an intriguing parallel, though it differs in crucial ways from theological infinity. In mathematics, infinity represents an unending quantity, or an abstract conceptual framework, such as the set of all integers extending without limit in both directions. God's eternity, by contrast, is not merely infinite in duration, it transcends time itself. Rather than existing indefinitely within temporal bounds, divine eternity implies a state of being that lies outside the linear progression of past, present, and future. Whereas mathematicians can explore and manipulate different forms of infinity, such as countable or uncountable infinities, the concept of divine eternity defies such quantification, remaining absolute, incomparable, and beyond numerical measure. The contemplation of an infinitely powerful being raises questions equally staggering. An omnipotent deity, by definition, possesses the ability to surpass all physical laws, to manipulate matter, energy, space, and time itself. Yet this power invites paradoxes, such as the famous omnipotence paradox. Could such a being create a stone too heavy to lift? And if so, could it also lift it? Beyond logical puzzles, infinite power implies a capacity to alter the very fabric of the universe, to rewrite the laws of physics, or to shape reality in ways that surpass human comprehension. The interplay between omnipotence, omnipresence, and eternity thus forms a web of concepts where theology and philosophy intersect, each providing frameworks for grappling with ideas that challenge the limits of thought. Ultimately, the exploration of infinity, whether through the lens of physics, mathematics, or theology, reveals both the boundless potential of human curiosity and the profound mysteries that lie at the heart of existence. Infinity is not merely a number or an idea. It is a journey into the vast, uncharted territories of space, time, consciousness, and the very essence of being, compelling us to confront questions that may forever lie beyond the full grasp of our understanding. However, the question of an all-powerful God is far from a simple one. It stretches into the deepest corners of human curiosity, probing the mysteries of existence, morality, and the purpose of life itself. If a being possesses limitless power, why does suffering persist? Why does imperfection remain woven into the fabric of the universe? These questions have fueled philosophical debate and theological reflection for thousands of years, exposing the intricate and sometimes uneasy relationship between faith, reason, and the observable world. Human civilizations across history have wrestled with these paradoxes, each culture and religion offering unique frameworks to understand them. In Christianity, this tension is often addressed through the concept of free will. The belief holds that God, while omnipotent and omniscient, grants humans the freedom to make choices, even if those choices result in suffering or moral failure. This framework portrays human experience as a landscape where divine power coexists with individual responsibility, illustrating a delicate balance between sovereignty and human agency. Islam approaches this conundrum differently, emphasizing the incomprehensible nature of Allah. In Islamic thought, while Allah is all-powerful and infinite, the limitations of human perception prevent mortals from fully grasping divine motives. Here, mystery is not a failure of understanding, but a feature of the divine, highlighting humility as a crucial aspect of faith. Hinduism presents yet another approach. In this tradition, the universe itself is a reflection of the divine, with the ultimate reality, Brahman, encompassing both the finite and the infinite. Paradoxes are not contradictions to be resolved, but integral components of the cosmic whole. Similarly, Buddhism, which does not center on a creator deity, explores these questions through the concepts of emptiness and interdependence. In this view, all phenomena, including the very idea of infinity, exist only in relation to each other, without inherent existence, reframing the problem in terms of interconnectedness rather than divine intention. From a scientific perspective, the existence of God is generally approached through empirical inquiry, focusing on observable and testable phenomena. Science does not attempt to disprove or affirm the divine, but instead examines the universe through the tools of observation, experimentation, and rational analysis. Many scientists regard the question of God as lying beyond the scope of empirical evidence, exploring instead the neurological, psychological, and evolutionary origins of religious belief. Research into brain activity during prayer or meditation, for instance, reveals patterns that illuminate how humans experience transcendence and spirituality. Cosmologists and physicists, meanwhile, investigate the origins of the cosmos and the fundamental laws governing it, often seeking natural explanations without invoking supernatural causes. The Big Bang Theory, for example, describes the universe's early expansion in terms of physics rather than divine intervention, while the nearly 14 billion year age of the cosmos challenges traditional religious timelines. Scientific discoveries have frequently intersected with theological ideas, sometimes complicating traditional conceptions of God. Darwin's theory of evolution demonstrated how life diversifies through natural processes, offering explanations independent of divine action. Advances in neuroscience show how consciousness and cognition emerge from brain activity, calling into question the notion of a non-material soul. Quantum mechanics, with its inherent uncertainty at the subatomic level, raises questions about determinism and omniscience. Each of these discoveries invites reflection on the interplay between natural laws and theological belief, encouraging a dialogue that spans centuries of inquiry. The anthropic principle provides a compelling bridge between scientific observation and philosophical inquiry. It notes that the universe's fundamental constants and physical laws appear finely tuned to support life. Even slight variations might render the cosmos uninhabitable, leading some to argue that this fine-tuning implies intentional design, while others suggest that in a potentially infinite multiverse, Our existence simply reflects the conditions of the universe we happen to inhabit. The anthropic principle thus prompts reflection on the fragile balance underpinning life, urging contemplation of both the scientific and philosophical dimensions of existence. Historically, humans have often invoked the God of the gaps explanation, attributing unknown natural phenomena to divine intervention. While this approach once offered comfort and explanation, the advance of science has steadily reduced these gaps, replacing divine attribution with empirical understanding. Planetary formation, disease, and the evolution of life are now understood through astronomy, microbiology, and evolutionary theory rather than miraculous causes. Modern theologians increasingly reinterpret God's role as working through natural laws rather than stepping in to fill gaps in human knowledge, fostering coexistence between faith and scientific reasoning. Complexity and emergent phenomena further illuminate the dialogue between science and theology. Nature's complexity often produces behaviors or properties that cannot be predicted from individual components alone, from the swirling dynamics of galaxies to the rise of consciousness. Some see in this intricacy evidence of intelligent design, while others interpret it as the natural consequence of interacting laws over immense spans of time. Interestingly, some philosophical and theological perspectives align with scientific notions of emergence, suggesting that divinity itself might be an emergent property of the universe, a form of cosmic consciousness arising from the intricate patterns of existence. In this view, God is not an external agent dictating events, but a reflection of the universe's inherent complexity, a bridge between spirituality and the observable world. Ultimately, the inquiry into God, divine power, and the cosmos is an enduring human endeavor, drawing on philosophy, theology, and science alike. It reminds us that the pursuit of understanding is as much about exploring our own minds and moral frameworks as it is about probing the vastness of space. By examining these questions from multiple angles, humans gain insight into the delicate interplay between freedom and determinism, mystery and knowledge, complexity and order, revealing the profound and often humbling dimensions of existence itself. However, numerous scientists caution against drawing straightforward lines between empirical observations and spiritual or religious interpretations. They emphasize that while the intricacies of complexity and the phenomena of emergence are endlessly fascinating, they can be understood through natural mechanisms without resorting to supernatural explanations. The ongoing discourse between scientific inquiry and spiritual contemplation continues to probe these profound questions, driving humanity to stretch the limits of understanding and reflection. Concepts like infinity are central to these discussions, offering a lens through which we examine the origins and structure of the universe, challenging our most basic intuitions about space, time, and the underlying fabric of reality. Cosmologists, in particular, wrestle with the idea of infinity as they ponder the size, age, and boundaries of the cosmos. Some models suggest that the universe could be infinite, extending without end in every direction, an idea that forces us to reconsider our place in a vast, possibly boundless expanse. Infinity also emerges in the study of the earliest moments after the Big Bang. As scientists trace the universe back to its primordial state, mathematical models indicate that both the density and temperature of the cosmos approach infinite values. These extremes present profound challenges for physicists as the conventional laws of nature begin to break down under such conditions. The notion of infinity further appears in hypotheses about the multiverse, where our universe may be just one among countless others, each with its own unique physical laws and constants. Theoretical frameworks such as string theory and eternal inflation suggest that the cosmos might not be a singular entity, but part of an infinite ensemble. The engagement with infinity in these contexts underscores the limitations of our current scientific understanding and compels researchers to formulate new theories, refine mathematical tools, and expand the conceptual boundaries of physics. It reminds us that, despite incredible advances, the universe retains mysteries that inspire both scientific and philosophical reflection. Quantum physics has further transformed our perception of reality, revealing a realm where certainty is replaced by probability, and particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed. This indeterminacy challenges the classical notion of a deterministic universe and raises questions that ripple far beyond subatomic behavior. Quantum mechanics invites speculation about consciousness, free will, and the nature of existence itself. The observer effect, where the act of measurement influences outcomes, has led some to consider a profound connection between mind and matter, suggesting that consciousness might play a more fundamental role in shaping reality than previously imagined. Quantum entanglement, where particles remain interconnected across vast distances, reinforces this notion of a deeply interconnected universe. The phenomenon resonates with philosophical and spiritual ideas of universal oneness, implying that separateness at a fundamental level may be an illusion. Meanwhile, interpretations like the many worlds hypothesis propose the existence of parallel universes, expanding the notion of reality beyond a single timeline and challenging our conventional understanding of causality. While quantum mechanics neither confirms nor denies the existence of God, it creates fertile ground for re-examining long-held assumptions about the cosmos, causation, and the role of the observer, sparking both scientific and philosophical debates. The question of how God relates to an infinite universe has been a source of contemplation for some of history's most influential scientists. Albert Einstein, for example, described God not as a personal deity, but as a manifestation of the order, symmetry, and rationality inherent in nature. His notion of cosmic religious feeling embraced the majesty of an infinite, orderly universe, finding divinity in the laws themselves rather than in an anthropomorphic creator. Conversely, Stephen Hawking proposed that the universe, governed by physical laws, could arise spontaneously from nothing, potentially obviating the need for divine intervention. This perspective challenges traditional theological assumptions while still leaving room for possibilities beyond human understanding. Other scientists, like Francis Collins, former director of the Human Genome Project, have sought harmony between religious faith and scientific evidence. Collins views the precise calibration of universal constants and the staggering complexity of life as indicative of a divine creator, even within an infinite cosmos. This approach aims to reconcile empirical knowledge with spiritual belief, bridging a gap that has historically been perceived as unbridgeable. The concept of information in physics provides additional parallels to theological ideas. In quantum mechanics, information fundamentally describes the state of particles and systems. The notion that reality itself is underpinned by information has drawn comparisons to religious concepts of divine knowledge or omniscience. Infinity, in this context, aligns with attributes traditionally ascribed to God: limitless awareness and all-encompassing presence. Principles such as the holographic principle suggest that the information content of any spatial region may be encoded on its boundary, implying that the universe could harbor an effectively infinite store of information. Similarly, the conservation of information, even in extreme conditions like black holes, echoes philosophical notions of eternity and permanence. These connections, while speculative, provide a bridge between abstract physics and metaphysical contemplation, enriching our exploration of existence. Scientific models of the universe remain focused on observable phenomena and testable predictions rather than divine questions. The prevailing Big Bang model, describing an expanding universe originating from an incredibly hot, dense state roughly 13.8 billion years ago, is supported by observations such as cosmic microwave background radiation and the distribution of light elements. Theoretical constructs like the multiverse, eternal inflation, and cyclic universe models offer imaginative frameworks for understanding cosmic structure and history, though they remain difficult to test directly. These models aim to explain nature through natural processes alone, without invoking supernatural causation, providing a rigorous foundation for understanding the cosmos, while leaving room for philosophical reflection. Philosophical explorations of God, such as the ontological argument proposed by Anselm of Canterbury in the 11th century, attempt to reason from pure logic to the necessity of a supreme being. This argument holds that if one can conceive of the greatest possible being, then such a being must exist, for existence in reality is greater than mere conceptual existence. The qualities implied by this notion, omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence, are infinite in nature, transcending the bounds of human comprehension and touching on the same themes that both cosmology and quantum mechanics explore: the profound vastness and complexity of existence, the enduring mystery of the universe, and the awe-inspiring possibilities that lie beyond the limits of observation. The dialogue between science, infinity, and spirituality continues to evolve, weaving together insights from empirical investigation, theoretical exploration, and philosophical reflection. It reminds us that while the universe is governed by discoverable laws, it remains a domain of wonder, mystery, and profound contemplation, a canvas on which humanity projects its curiosity, imagination, and quest for meaning. Furthermore, the ontological argument itself delves into one of philosophy's most abstract and challenging ideas: the concept of existence across all possible worlds. It invites us to consider the very nature of reality and the infinite spectrum of possibilities that could exist beyond what we can observe. In a sense, this argument is not just a question of theology. It resonates with modern cosmology, where scientists theorize about multiverses, vast expanses of reality that stretch far beyond our observable universe. Here, philosophy and science converge on the theme of the infinite, each in its own language. Critics of the ontological argument, however, raise a persistent challenge. The act of imagining something, even if it is conceived as the greatest possible being, does not necessarily bring it into reality. This tension between existence as a concept and existence as actuality continues to provoke deep reflection among philosophers and theologians alike, pushing the boundaries of how humanity understands both infinity and the essence of being itself. The cosmological argument approaches the question of divinity from a different angle, grounded in the principle of causality. It begins with the observation that every entity and event in our universe seems to have a cause, creating a vast chain of cause and effect stretching backward through time. But when this chain is traced to its limits, it confronts a paradox. Can there truly be an infinite regression of causes? Proponents argue that such endless backward tracing is logically impossible because it would never yield a definitive starting point, a first cause that set everything into motion. To resolve this, the cosmological argument posits the necessity of an uncaused first cause, a force or being that exists outside the temporal chain of cause and effect, capable of initiating the entirety of the universe. This entity, it is argued, must be eternal, self-existent, and imbued with the power to bring all things into being. In this reasoning, the uncaused first cause aligns closely with traditional notions of God, offering a philosophical foundation for the belief in a divine creator. In contrast, the teleological argument, often called the argument from design, shifts focus from causality to the observable order and complexity in the universe. It draws attention to the apparent fine-tuning of physical constants, the intricate architecture of living organisms, and the majestic arrangement of celestial bodies, proposing that such precision and harmony suggest the presence of an intelligent designer. Advocates assert that the universe exhibits a degree of sophistication so improbable that chance alone seems insufficient as an explanation. Critics respond by highlighting natural mechanisms such as evolution through natural selection, which can give rise to complexity without intentional guidance. They also point out that humans are predisposed to detect patterns, sometimes seeing design where none objectively exists. The ongoing dialogue surrounding the teleological argument illuminates the delicate interplay between scientific reasoning and philosophical inquiry, raising profound questions about the relationship between order, complexity, and the possibility of a purposeful cosmos. Moral arguments for God's existence introduce yet another dimension where infinity becomes crucial. These arguments suggest that objective moral truths require a foundation that is eternal, unchanging, and absolute, a foundation that finite beings alone could not provide. Concepts like perfect goodness, justice, and ultimate moral accountability demand a source that exists beyond temporal and spatial limitations. Here, infinity is not merely a mathematical abstraction, but a necessary attribute of the moral ground itself. Proponents argue that only an infinite being, such as God, can embody these ideals fully, ensuring that they remain consistent and binding across time and circumstance. Yet this link between morality and infinity also raises philosophical challenges. Can human beings, finite and limited as we are, truly grasp or live in accordance with an infinite moral standard? The tension between finite human experience and infinite moral ideals continues to provoke rich discussion, highlighting the intricate relationship between ethics, divinity, and the concept of infinity. Finally, the argument from religious experience offers a deeply personal perspective on divinity. This approach is built on the countless reports of individuals who claim encounters with the divine or moments of profound spiritual insight. These experiences often involve sensations of transcendence, unity, or overwhelming awe and are described as deeply transformative, setting them apart from ordinary life. Advocates suggest that the remarkable consistency and universality of such experiences across cultures and historical eras lend weight to the notion of a real divine presence. From these accounts, attributes of God are often inferred: transcendence beyond human comprehension, benevolent concern for creation, and intimate involvement in the lives of human beings. Skeptics caution, however, that these experiences are inherently subjective, shaped by personal belief systems, cultural context, and even neurological conditions, and therefore cannot serve as conclusive evidence for God's existence. Nonetheless, the argument from religious experience underscores the profound ways in which human consciousness reaches toward the infinite, seeking encounters with something far larger and more mysterious than ourselves. In weaving together these diverse arguments, ontological, cosmological, teleological, moral, and experiential, we see a panorama of human thought striving to grapple with the infinite. Each line of reasoning illuminates different facets of existence, causality, order, morality, and transcendence, offering pathways to understanding a reality that is vast, intricate, and often beyond our immediate perception. Together, they create a tapestry that stretches across philosophy, theology, and even science, reflecting humanity's enduring quest to comprehend the unfathomable and to encounter the infinite in both mind and spirit. However, the attributes ascribed to God are far from uniform, shifting dramatically according to the rich tapestry of human culture, historical context, and religious tradition. Across the globe, conceptions of the divine vary from a personal, interventionist deity to an abstract, impersonal principle that undergirds the cosmos. Within this diversity, one philosophical and theological issue consistently emerges as a formidable challenge: the notion of divine hiddenness. At its core, this concept confronts the perplexing question of why an omnipotent, perfectly loving God would choose not to make its presence unmistakably clear to humanity. Advocates of divine hiddenness contend that if such a being existed, it would manifest itself in a manner so indisputable that every human being would recognize its existence without doubt. The responses to this conundrum have been equally diverse and nuanced. Some thinkers argue that God's elusiveness is a deliberate safeguard for human free will, creating a space in which belief is genuinely chosen rather than compelled by overwhelming evidence. Others suggest that hiddenness functions as a crucible for faith, distinguishing those whose devotion is authentic from those whose acknowledgement of the divine is superficial or opportunistic. Another compelling line of thought holds that what humans perceive as hiddenness is less a deliberate concealment and more a reflection of the limitations inherent in the human mind. From this perspective, God's essence might be so radically different from human experience that our cognitive faculties are simply inadequate to detect it in the way we might expect. Additionally, some theologians propose that the divine communicates through subtler channels: the majesty of nature, deeply personal spiritual experiences, or sacred texts. Yet, these revelations are never self-evident. They require interpretation, reflection, and an element of faith to be truly apprehended. Critics counter that a truly omnipotent deity could provide unmistakable evidence of its existence, without undermining the moral or spiritual significance of free choice. This tension keeps the debate over divine hiddenness alive, prompting both theists and skeptics to continually refine their understanding of belief, evidence, and the nature of God. In a related vein, the 17th century French mathematician and philosopher Blaise Pascal proposed what has become known as Pascal's wager, a thought experiment framing belief in God as a matter of rational prudence rather than empirical certainty. According to Pascal, the decision to believe in God is essentially a bet with infinite stakes. Should one believe and God exists, the believer stands to gain immeasurable reward in the afterlife. Should one believe and God does not exist, the cost is comparatively minimal, limited to finite sacrifices or adjustments in worldly life. Conversely, if one refuses to believe while God exists, the consequences are infinitely catastrophic. If God does not exist, disbelief yields no substantial gain or loss. Pascal's argument emphasizes the rationality of faith under conditions of ultimate uncertainty, suggesting that the prospect of infinite gain outweighs any finite cost. Yet, critics argue that this wager oversimplifies the nature of genuine belief, ignores the pluralism of religions, and raises the question of whether faith based on pragmatic calculation can ever be sincere. Regardless, Pascal's wager endures as a stimulating lens through which to examine the interplay of reason, risk, and faith. Another enduring philosophical challenge to the existence of God arises from the problem of evil, which asks how an all-powerful, all-knowing, and wholly benevolent deity could permit suffering and injustice in the world. Responses to this challenge are manifold. The free will defense argues that God endows humans with genuine moral autonomy, an agency so profound that it necessarily allows for moral failure and evil. Without the capacity to choose wrongly, free will would be meaningless, and any moral growth or virtue would be hollow. Complementing this view is the soul-making theodicy, which asserts that adversity and suffering are essential catalysts for spiritual maturation. From this perspective, trials, hardship, and even pain are integral to the cultivation of virtues such as courage, compassion, and perseverance, which might be impossible to develop in a world devoid of challenge. Skeptical theism offers a different angle, suggesting that human beings with their finite understanding are ill-equipped to comprehend the broader purposes of a divine plan. What appears as gratuitous suffering may, in reality, serve a higher and ultimately benevolent function beyond our cognitive grasp. Over centuries, classical arguments for God's existence have faced rigorous scrutiny. The cosmological argument, which contends that the universe must have a cause, has been challenged for potentially committing a special pleading fallacy. If all things require a cause, why exempt God? Conversely, if God does not require a cause, perhaps the universe itself could exist without one. The ontological argument, which attempts to derive God's existence purely from the concept of a supremely perfect being, faces criticism for presuming existence as a property rather than a logical consequence. The teleological or design argument, famously illustrated through William Paley's watchmaker analogy, contends that the complexity of life implies an intelligent designer. Yet, the theory of evolution and observable natural disasters challenge the necessity and perfection of such a designer. The moral argument posits that objective morality presupposes a divine source, but skeptics point out that secular ethical systems can establish moral frameworks, and the diversity of moral codes across cultures undermines the claim of universal, divinely ordained moral law. The historical evolution of these arguments is as fascinating as the debates themselves. Ancient Greek philosophers such as Plato and Aristotle introduced the concepts of a prime mover and an ultimate cause, laying the intellectual groundwork for later thought. Medieval scholars, most notably St. Thomas Aquinas, formalized these ideas in his 5 ways to demonstrate God's existence. The Enlightenment ushered in more rationalist and empirical approaches. René Descartes advanced ontological arguments centered on the necessity of a perfect being, while William Paley emphasized observable design in nature as evidence of intelligence. In the contemporary era, these classical proofs have been reframed in light of scientific discovery, from fine-tuning arguments that highlight the improbable precision required for life to exist, to philosophical explorations into quantum mechanics and multiverse theories. Figures like Alvin Plantinga have advanced sophisticated modal logic arguments, further enriching the discourse. Across time, the pursuit of understanding God reflects humanity's persistent quest to grapple with ultimate questions about existence, purpose, and the structure of reality itself. Amid these inquiries, the logical problem of evil remains a particularly stubborn philosophical puzzle. It directly challenges the coherence of the traditional conception of an omnipotent, omniscient, and morally perfect God. If such a being exists, why does evil persist? Philosophers have offered multiple responses. Free will necessitates the existence of potential wrongdoing, suffering can serve higher, incomprehensible purposes, and human perception of evil may simply be insufficient to grasp a divine plan. These discussions underscore not only the enduring complexity of theological thought, but also the profound intellectual curiosity that drives humans to interrogate the very nature of the divine and the moral architecture of the universe. However, the critics remain steadfast in their insistence that these explanations, as thoughtful as they may be, fail to fully resolve the deep and persistent logical inconsistencies that arise when one confronts the problem of evil. Across centuries, this conundrum has continued to provoke intense scrutiny, fueling debates about the nature of God, the essence of morality, and the seemingly inexorable existence of suffering. Within the philosophy of religion, it stands as a central, unyielding challenge, compelling both believers and skeptics to grapple with questions that touch on the very foundations of reality, divine purpose, and human understanding. The discourse on evil is often divided into two major frameworks: the logical problem of evil and the evidential problem of evil, each examining suffering from distinct yet interconnected perspectives. The logical problem of evil asserts that the existence of evil in our world is fundamentally incompatible with an all-powerful, all-knowing, and perfectly good God. It posits that these divine attributes cannot coherently coexist with evil, creating an unavoidable logical contradiction that challenges the coherence of traditional theism. In contrast, the evidential problem of evil approaches the issue with nuance and careful observation. Rather than claiming an outright impossibility, it argues that the magnitude and nature of the suffering we witness make the existence of such a God improbable. This argument draws attention to the overwhelming scale of pain encompassing both human and animal experiences, and raises the unsettling question of whether an all-loving deity would allow such pervasive hardship. The evidential problem focuses particularly on instances of seemingly gratuitous or pointless suffering, scenarios such as the agonizing deaths of children, natural disasters, and widespread human cruelty. It asks whether these forms of suffering serve any greater justifiable purpose, or whether they could have been prevented without sacrificing a greater good or permitting an even more catastrophic evil. While the logical problem seeks to demonstrate that God cannot exist under these conditions, the evidential problem's aim is more probabilistic, to show that given the observable evidence of evil, the existence of God is unlikely. This probabilistic nature makes the evidential problem more difficult to counter, as it does not rely on rigid logical absolutes, but on careful reasoning from empirical observation. Theodicy, the branch of theology and philosophy devoted to addressing the problem of evil, has long struggled with these questions. For centuries, theologians and philosophers alike have been perplexed by the challenge of reconciling a world filled with suffering and wickedness with the notion of a benevolent and omnipotent deity. Proponents of theodicy have offered multiple approaches to bridge this conceptual gap. One prominent explanation is the free will defense, which asserts that human freedom is a necessary component of moral existence. According to this view, God allows evil to occur as a consequence of human choice, suggesting that true goodness can only emerge when individuals have the genuine capacity to choose, even if that choice entails the possibility of wrongdoing. Another theodical approach argues that suffering and evil may serve a higher, often inscrutable purpose within a divine plan. From this perspective, hardship, adversity, and challenge are not merely obstacles, but opportunities for spiritual development, moral growth, and the cultivation of virtues such as resilience, empathy, and compassion. Some proponents even suggest that human understanding is inherently limited, and that what appears as evil may, in the larger context of the divine plan, contribute to a greater good that is simply beyond our comprehension. Yet, despite these efforts, critics maintain that such explanations fall short, particularly in the face of extreme suffering or natural disasters, which appear unrelated to human free will. The ongoing debate surrounding theodicy highlights the profound complexity of religious faith and underscores humanity's enduring quest to make sense of good and evil in the world. Different religious traditions have grappled with the problem of evil in unique ways, reflecting both theological perspectives and cultural contexts. In monotheistic faiths such as Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, the challenge is to reconcile the existence of evil with belief in an omnipotent, omniscient, and benevolent God. Christian theologians often assert that evil results from human free will, framing suffering as a consequence of humanity's moral agency, which allows for authentic love and moral decision-making. Jewish thinkers may interpret evil as a mechanism for spiritual growth, moral development, or as a mystery that transcends human comprehension. Islamic theology frequently emphasizes God's ultimate wisdom and justice, suggesting that what humans perceive as evil may ultimately serve a higher purpose within the divine plan, and that suffering provides opportunities for moral choice and spiritual refinement. In contrast, dualistic religions such as Zoroastrianism posit a universe in which good and evil are opposing cosmic forces, with humanity playing an active role in this metaphysical struggle. Eastern philosophies, including Buddhism and Hinduism, approach suffering not as a theological puzzle, but as a natural consequence of karma and the cycles of rebirth, emphasizing detachment and mindfulness as paths to transcend suffering rather than seeking divine justification. The philosophical defense of free will occupies a significant role in these discussions, suggesting that God endows humans with the ability to make choices, including the potential for evil, as a necessary condition for genuine love and moral goodness. Proponents argue that a world in which humans act freely is of greater value than one in which moral behavior is enforced, even at the cost of suffering. True goodness, they assert, arises only from freely chosen action, not from predetermined or enforced righteousness. In this framework, God's omnipotence is not diminished by the presence of evil. Rather, the coexistence of free will and guaranteed moral action is seen as logically impossible. Critics, however, point out limitations of the free will defense, highlighting natural evils such as earthquakes, diseases, and other disasters that do not stem from human choice. Questions arise as to whether free will truly exists and whether it can justify the magnitude of suffering in the world. Despite these challenges, the free will defense continues to be a central argument in theological and philosophical debates about the coexistence of God and evil. The concept of infinity further complicates these discussions. An omnipotent God is often conceived as having limitless power, yet this raises difficult questions. If God is truly all-powerful, why would such a being allow suffering to persist? Could an infinite deity create a world free from evil while still preserving free will? This leads to the omnipotence paradox, a philosophical puzzle probing the limits of power and the logical consistency of divine action. Additionally, if God possesses perfect knowledge of all future events, does this foreknowledge undermine the possibility of genuine human free will? Some philosophers argue that true freedom cannot exist alongside complete predestination, complicating traditional notions of divine omniscience. Beyond theology, the problem of evil resonates across philosophical and secular thought. Existentialist thinkers contend that the universe is inherently devoid of meaning, leaving humans responsible for creating purpose and values in a world where suffering is unavoidable. Buddhist philosophy views suffering as intrinsic to existence, advocating mindfulness, detachment, and inner transformation rather than divine justification. Secular humanism emphasizes human responsibility, proposing that ethical reasoning and collective action can mitigate suffering without recourse to supernatural intervention. Some philosophical approaches even consider the possibility of a non-omnipotent or non-omniscient higher power, a being whose limitations allow for the existence of evil without logical contradiction. This concept of a finite deity preserves the notion of a cosmic force influencing the universe while acknowledging that imperfections may persist independently of divine will. The idea of a best possible world, closely tied to discussions of theodicy, suggests that a benevolent and powerful God would create the optimal universe. Within this framework, some degree of evil may be necessary to achieve greater goods, such as moral development through free choice. Yet, critics challenge this view, questioning whether infinite divine power could not yield a world without suffering while retaining all benefits, thereby exposing the limits of this philosophical reconciliation. Ultimately, theodicy reflects humanity's enduring effort to comprehend suffering, divine power, and moral responsibility. From free will and spiritual growth to existential and secular interpretations, the struggle to explain evil underscores the complexity of human thought and belief. The persistent presence of suffering forces reflection on divine benevolence, the limits of power, and the intricate in-between human agency and the broader universe. Across time and cultures, the question of why evil exists and what purpose it may serve continues to challenge thinkers, provoke debate, and inspire a profound exploration of morality, existence, and the divine. Ultimately, the question of human suffering continues to occupy a central place in theological discourse, provoking profound reflection among both scholars and lay believers. It is not merely a philosophical or abstract concern, it strikes at the very heart of human existence, forcing us to confront the stark realities of pain, loss, and moral ambiguity. Across centuries, thinkers have wrestled with the paradox of suffering. How can a just and loving deity allow cruelty, injustice, and anguish to persist in the world? These inquiries are far from resolved, and they continue to illuminate the intricate intersections of divine justice, the nature of good and evil, and humanity's search for meaning in a universe that often seems indifferent to our struggles. Accounts of near-death experiences and afterlife visions have intensified these debates, bridging the domains of science, psychology, and theology in ways that challenge conventional boundaries. Individuals who have approached the threshold of death often describe extraordinary phenomena, sensations of profound peace, encounters with deceased relatives, or the overwhelming presence of unconditional love. To believers, these glimpses can appear as a window into a benevolent higher power or an existence beyond mortality, reinforcing faith and offering solace in the face of worldly suffering. They argue that such experiences suggest that earthly suffering is temporary, that there exists a realm where love and goodness ultimately prevail, and that the divine triumphs over evil in the end. Yet skeptics urge caution. Neurological explanations such as oxygen deprivation like neurotransmitter surges or the brain's chemical responses during trauma offer alternative accounts for these extraordinary perceptions. From this perspective, near-death experiences are remarkable yet fundamentally natural phenomena rather than evidence of a transcendent reality. This tension underscores the persistent challenge in theological and philosophical debates, whether suffering and evil can be reconciled with the concept of an omnipotent, benevolent God. Ultimately, the interpretation of such experiences depends heavily on individual belief systems, illustrating how subjective perception shapes our understanding of consciousness, mortality, and the moral structure of the universe. Throughout history, diverse cultures have approached the idea of divine eternity in ways as varied as the human imagination itself. Monotheistic traditions such as Christianity, Islam, and Judaism often conceive of God as existing beyond the confines of time, eternal, unchanging, and wholly independent from the temporal world. This depiction stretches human comprehension, suggesting a being with neither beginning nor end, simultaneously present in all moments. By contrast, polytheistic traditions, such as those of ancient Greece, often portrayed immortality in a more nuanced form. Gods who, while enduring and undying, were not eternal in the absolute sense. They had origins, were sometimes born or created, yet their existence extended indefinitely once initiated. Eastern religious thought provides further complexity. Hinduism envisions eternity as cyclical, embodied in endless cycles of creation, preservation, and destruction, with the divine existing both within and beyond these rhythms. Buddhism, though less centered on a creator deity, explores the timeless through the concept of nana, a state transcending temporal suffering altogether. Indigenous traditions worldwide often reject linear conceptions of time entirely, integrating notions of eternity into natural cycles and rituals. For these cultures, eternity is tangible, experienced directly through connection with the land, the seasons, and ancestral practice, rather than as an abstract metaphysical idea. The philosophical distinction between ceternity and eternity clarifies these concepts further. Ceternity describes existence within time that has a beginning but continues indefinitely into the future. In cosmological terms, our universe exemplifies this idea. It emerged from the Big Bang and, by current understanding, will endure indefinitely. Eternity, however, transcends time completely. It implies a state beyond beginnings and endings, often invoked in discussions of divine existence or realms outside physical reality. Debates in cosmology occasionally mirror these theological distinctions, as theories of cyclical universes or eternal multiverses edge closer to the concept of true eternity, while our observable universe remains a ceternal construct. Religious perspectives on God's relationship with time vary widely. Many monotheistic frameworks view the divine as timeless, existing outside chronological flow and perceiving all moments simultaneously. Some Christian theologians describe God as omnaural, present at every moment concurrently, while others suggest a temporal existence fundamentally different from human experience. Islamic theology similarly situates Allah beyond time, framing God as the creator of both the universe and temporality itself. Hindu and Buddhist thought offer complementary perspectives, emphasizing cyclical or illusory qualities of time and presenting models of transcendence accessible to enlightened beings. These ideas provoke intricate philosophical challenges. How can a timeless deity engage meaningfully with a temporal world? If the divine perceives all events simultaneously, where does human free will reside? And how do predestination and choice intersect? How can acts of creation occur in a framework devoid of before and after? Furthermore, if God is immutable, unchanging, and outside time, how can this being respond to prayers or participate in the dynamic unfolding of human life? Such questions underscore the delicate interplay between theology, philosophy, and human perception, highlighting the profound difficulty of reconciling divine attributes with the lived realities of temporal existence. Closely linked to these inquiries is the concept of divine foreknowledge. An omniscient deity, aware of past, present, and future, challenges conventional notions of temporal progression. From this perspective, eternity is not merely a linear extension of time, but a qualitative state of all-encompassing awareness. A divine being in such a state would perceive the totality of existence at once, much as one observes an entire painting rather than the sequential strokes of its creation. This understanding reshapes human conceptions of causality, choice, and destiny, raising both awe and unease in equal measure. In this sense, theological reflection on suffering, divine eternity, and foreknowledge is not an exercise in abstraction, but a deeply human endeavor. It grapples with the questions we encounter at the threshold of experience: life, death, loss, and the pursuit of meaning. Whether through near-death encounters, philosophical reasoning, or cultural rituals, humanity has sought to understand the enduring mysteries of existence, striving to illuminate the delicate balance between the finite and the infinite, the temporal and the eternal, the human and the divine. However, this immediately sparks deep and enduring philosophical questions surrounding the concepts of free will and determinism, questions that have preoccupied thinkers for centuries. If every future action, every choice, every thought were somehow already known, does that imply that human freedom is merely an illusion, that our perceived ability to choose is nothing more than a mirage? Some philosophers argue that knowledge of the future does not automatically equate to predestination. They illustrate this with a simple analogy: watching a recorded sports game. A viewer knows the outcome, yet for the players on the field at the time, the game was unpredictable, full of genuine tension and real-time decisions. Similarly, divine or absolute foreknowledge could exist without stripping humanity of its capacity for choice, preserving the moral and existential weight of our decisions. These contemplations push us to reconsider our ordinary experience of time as a straight line, past, present, future, a progression that seems irreversible and definitive. What if, instead, all moments coexist simultaneously? What if the past is never truly past, the future never merely potential, and our present is but one segment in a vast, unchanging expanse of temporal reality? Such reflections are at the heart of the block universe theory, which posits that past, present, and future are not sequential but exist together in a unified four-dimensional structure. In this model, time is not a flowing river, but a static dimension, akin to the three dimensions of space. Our perception of movement through time, the sensation of events unfolding moment by moment, is simply consciousness navigating this four-dimensional block. The implications for free will and determinism are staggering. If every moment exists eternally, Are our choices predetermined, eternally fixed within the block? Yet, advocates of this theory maintain that decisions retain significance even if they are eternally situated. Just as a single frame in a film retains its narrative weight regardless of the final cut, our choices matter within the eternal structure of time. When considered alongside theological concepts of God, the block universe provides a fascinating parallel to descriptions of an omniscient and eternal deity. A divine consciousness, positioned outside of temporal constraints, could perceive the entire four-dimensional block simultaneously, knowing every event, past and future, at once. This resonates with centuries of religious thought in which God is depicted as existing beyond the limitations of time, observing creation in its entirety from an eternal perspective. Such a model radically challenges conventional ideas of causality, change, and the evolution of the universe. In a block universe, events do not unfold or develop in a traditional sense. They simply exist. The cosmos, in all its past intricacies and future possibilities, is laid out in a timeless expanse, inviting humans to reconsider their place within it and the fundamental nature of existence itself. The theological implications are equally profound. If God's omniscience encompasses the entirety of this four-dimensional reality, questions of free will and predestination are no longer simple matters of human choice versus divine control. They become reflections on the interplay between eternal knowledge and temporal action, between the infinite and the immediate, raising deep ethical and philosophical concerns about responsibility, agency, and moral consequence. Discussions about predestination add yet another layer of complexity. Various religious traditions assert that God has predetermined certain outcomes, from the destiny of nations to the salvation of individual souls. To some, this seems to contradict the notion of free will, casting human choices as predetermined rather than authentically exercised. Yet others argue that predestination and free will are not mutually exclusive. Knowing an outcome does not necessarily cause it to occur. Foreknowledge and causation are not synonymous. A divine being could be aware of all future actions while still allowing for the genuine exercise of moral agency, preserving human accountability within a broader cosmic design. The questions extend even further when we contemplate the nature of time itself. Is time finite, with a defined beginning and a potential end, or is it infinite, stretching endlessly in both directions? A finite temporal framework aligns with the concept of a universe with a definite point of origin, echoing both theological creation narratives and scientific models such as the Big Bang. In this scenario, a creator existing outside of time could have initiated the cosmos, setting in motion the entire unfolding of existence. Conversely, an infinite timeline challenges conventional notions of creation. If the universe has always existed, does it still require a divine initiator? Must there be a moment of genesis, or can God exist within the continuum, interwoven with infinite temporality rather than standing apart from it? Scientific theories have only deepened and complicated these discussions. Einstein's theory of relativity demonstrated that time is not absolute, but flexible, warped by gravity and motion. This revelation forces theologians to reconsider notions of divine eternity and human temporality. How does an eternal God relate to a universe where time is relative, where clocks run at different rates depending on speed and gravitational fields? Quantum mechanics adds further layers of uncertainty, hinting at multiple timelines or even the absence of time at the smallest scales. Theological interpretations have begun to integrate these ideas, proposing that divine omniscience may encompass not just a single, predetermined future, but all possible futures, thereby preserving human freedom within a broader, multi-dimensional scope of reality. Thermodynamics, particularly the concepts of entropy and the arrow of time, has also influenced theological thought. The predicted heat death of the universe resonates with apocalyptic visions across religious traditions, provoking questions about the end of creation and the nature of divine intervention. Such discussions foster dialogue between science and religion, encouraging thinkers to reconcile the evolving scientific understanding of time with enduring spiritual concerns. Far from undermining faith, these ideas offer a deeper, richer framework for contemplating existence, morality, and the cosmic order. Eternity, central to religious thought, epitomizes the intersection of time, divinity, and human destiny. In many faiths, eternity represents an infinite state of being, transcending mortal experience of temporality and space. It frames the afterlife, the soul's journey, and ultimate salvation as conditions beyond temporal constraints. In monotheistic traditions, eternity is intimately connected to the everlasting nature of God, offering followers the promise of unending life in the presence of the divine. In Christianity, for example, eternal life in heaven is depicted as the ultimate reward for those who embrace spiritual teachings and live in accordance with divine guidance, a reality that exists beyond the reach of temporal limitations. This vast web of ideas, free will, determinism, predestination, divine omniscience, and the nature of time, reveals the astonishing complexity of human attempts to understand reality. Across philosophy, theology, and science, thinkers grapple with questions that resist simple answers. Yet the pursuit of these questions illuminates the human mind, its moral imagination, and its yearning to comprehend the cosmos and the divine. The dialogue between these disciplines continues to evolve, merging scientific insight with spiritual reflection, and inviting us to explore existence from perspectives that transcend our ordinary experience of life, time, and eternity. Conversely, in many religious traditions around the world, the notion of eternal consequences looms large, shaping both belief and behavior. Certain faiths propose that those who fail to attain salvation may face unending punishment or permanent separation from the divine. This idea of a never-ending afterlife, whether filled with boundless joy or relentless torment, serves as a profound motivator, compelling adherents to live in accordance with their spiritual teachings and seek the elusive promise of redemption during their mortal existence. Yet, the concept of eternity is far from universal. Interpretations vary widely across cultures and philosophies. In several Eastern traditions, such as specific schools of Buddhism, eternity is not envisioned as a linear, infinite stretch of time, but rather as a state beyond temporal measurement. Within these frameworks, the ultimate aspiration is not a prolonged existence, but liberation from the perpetual cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, achieving a timeless state of enlightenment or nirvana. Here, eternity is a qualitative transformation rather than a quantitative extension, representing freedom from suffering and the temporal limitations of human experience. The exploration of consciousness intertwines intriguingly with these spiritual ideas, sparking centuries of philosophical debate and scientific inquiry. Consciousness, the deeply personal, subjective awareness of self and world, remains one of the most mysterious phenomena in both philosophy and science. While some theories argue that consciousness emerges from the intricate networks of neurons in the human brain, others propose that it is a fundamental property of the universe itself, existing independently of physical structures. This latter perspective resonates strikingly with spiritual traditions that envision a divine or universal intelligence permeating all reality. In certain theological and mystical frameworks, the divine is conceptualized as an all-encompassing consciousness capable of experiencing, processing, and integrating all knowledge and phenomena simultaneously. In parallel, scientific theories such as integrated information theory suggest that consciousness arises wherever sufficient information is combined in complex systems. These convergences raise profound questions. Could the universe itself possess a form of awareness? Is the human mind merely a fragment of a broader cosmic consciousness? The dialogue between these perspectives bridges spiritual insight and scientific reasoning, offering fertile ground for reflection on free will, the nature of reality, and the potential for transcendent experiences. One philosophical perspective that directly engages these questions is panpsychism, the idea that consciousness or mind is a fundamental feature of the physical universe, present in some form, in all matter. According to this view, even the tiniest particles harbor a rudimentary form of subjective experience, though this does not equate to complex thought or self-awareness. Panpsychism offers a middle path between rigid materialism, which sees consciousness as an emergent property, and traditional religious views that place consciousness in a supernatural realm. Some thinkers have reimagined God through the lens of panpsychism, proposing a divine intelligence woven into the fabric of reality itself, echoing mystical and Eastern philosophies that perceive the cosmos as a vast, conscious entity. If consciousness is indeed a fundamental aspect of existence, this radically reshapes how we perceive the universe. It implies that awareness, or even intention, might underlie the apparent randomness of physical processes, hinting at connections with certain interpretations of quantum mechanics, in which observation plays a critical role. Though speculative, these ideas continue to captivate philosophers, scientists, and theologians, pushing the boundaries of our understanding of mind, cosmos, and the potential intersections between them. Near-death experiences and other altered states of consciousness provide further glimpses into these enigmatic dimensions of human awareness. Individuals who report such experiences often describe sensations of leaving their bodies, encountering radiant beings, or feeling profound unity and peace. Similarly, intense meditation, the use of psychedelic substances, or extreme physical or psychological conditions can induce states of consciousness that seem to transcend ordinary reality. These phenomena challenge conventional ideas of perception, prompting reflection on whether consciousness is merely a product of brain activity or a window into a deeper, more expansive reality. Some researchers interpret these experiences as evidence of a hidden dimension of existence, while others attribute them to neurochemical reactions under stress or culturally influenced expectations. The so-called hard problem of consciousness further underscores these mysteries. It refers to the enduring difficulty of explaining how subjective experiences, our inner feelings, sensations, and qualia, arise from objective physical processes in the brain. While we can map neurons firing and synaptic activity with remarkable precision, the leap from these processes to the richness of subjective experience remains largely unexplained. This enigma carries profound implications for our understanding of the divine. Some posit that consciousness may itself be a fundamental aspect of reality, perhaps even connected to a universal or cosmic intelligence, while others argue that the complexity and coherence of conscious experience suggests the hand of an intelligent designer. In the interplay of religion, philosophy, and science, these questions about consciousness, divinity, and the nature of eternity continue to inspire awe, debate, and exploration. They invite humanity to confront the profound mysteries of existence, the meaning of life, the limits of human understanding, and the possibility that the universe itself is far more alive, aware, and interconnected than we can currently perceive. Through this lens, the pursuit of knowledge, whether scientific, spiritual, or philosophical, becomes a journey toward illuminating the hidden depths of both the cosmos and our own minds. Conversely, there are thinkers who suggest that addressing the so-called hard problem of consciousness, the profound question of how subjective experience arises from physical processes, could eventually offer a naturalistic explanation for phenomena long attributed to the divine. This intellectual pursuit inevitably intersects with the age-old notions of soul and free will, concepts that have formed the backbone of religious thought for millennia. If it were possible to fully account for consciousness through purely physical mechanisms, traditional beliefs in an immaterial soul or divine influence over human cognition and decision-making could face profound re-evaluation. Yet, the enigma of consciousness remains unresolved, leaving ample space for both rigorous scientific investigation and spiritual contemplation. Its relationship to understanding God illuminates a rich and intricate dialogue between science, philosophy, and religion, each striving to comprehend the deeper structures of reality and humanity's place within it. The rise of artificial intelligence has introduced an entirely new dimension to this discourse. Discussions surrounding machine consciousness, the ability of AI systems to learn, adapt, and potentially exhibit forms of awareness have compelled us to rethink long-standing assumptions about intelligence and the nature of mind. Machines capable of processing vast data sets and executing complex decisions provide tangible instances of non-biological intelligence. Their existence challenges us to refine our definitions. What truly constitutes intelligence? And can it manifest beyond the familiar boundaries of human experience? If humans can create systems that simulate learning and problem solving, it inevitably sparks questions about the origins of our own cognitive capacities and the essence of our self-awareness. The contemplation of machine consciousness not only probes the limits of artificial cognition, but also mirrors broader philosophical inquiries into divine intelligence. Might a supreme consciousness operate in ways analogous to human intelligence, but on a scale and complexity far beyond our comprehension? Or is it entirely alien, fundamentally incomprehensible to human minds? Technological developments further fuel speculation that our universe itself could be a kind of engineered simulation, a concept echoing certain interpretations of divine creation and omniscience. As we continue to advance AI and explore the boundaries of machine consciousness, we may acquire novel insights into the nature of intelligence itself, potentially reshaping our understanding of divinity and our cosmic significance. Quantum theories of consciousness offer yet another provocative avenue. These ideas suggest that consciousness might emerge from quantum processes within the brain, a notion that could redefine the very relationship between mind and matter. If awareness is indeed rooted in quantum phenomena, consciousness may be a fundamental feature of the universe rather than a mere byproduct of complex biological systems. Such a perspective resonates with philosophical and spiritual frameworks that depict God as an all-encompassing consciousness or universal mind. Quantum mechanics, with its inherent uncertainty and non-locality, introduces a model of reality in which divine consciousness might not be constrained by classical notions of causality or physical locality. These speculative theories hint at a scientific lens through which traditional religious ideas, such as omnipresence or divine intervention, might be reconsidered, though it must be emphasized that these ideas remain highly controversial within the scientific community. Across history, humans have wrestled with the interplay between individual and divine consciousness, and traditions around the world have framed this relationship in remarkably diverse ways. In Eastern philosophies like Hinduism and Buddhism, human consciousness is frequently understood as a fragment or reflection of a broader, universal awareness. Hindu thought posits that individual awareness, or Atman, is ultimately identical with Brahman, the ultimate cosmic consciousness. Buddhism, while often eschewing the notion of a supreme deity, teaches that enlightenment involves transcending the boundaries of personal consciousness to recognize the interconnection of all phenomena. In contrast, Western monotheistic traditions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, typically maintain a distinct separation between human and divine consciousness. God is portrayed as an omniscient being whose awareness far exceeds human understanding, yet humans are often described as being made in God's image, suggesting at least a partial resonance or connection between human and divine cognition. Philosophical exploration extends this inquiry further. Panpsychism, for instance, proposes that consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe, a perspective that could bridge the perceived gap between human awareness and divine mind. Materialist philosophies, by contrast, reject divine consciousness altogether, interpreting human cognition as a natural emergent property of complex physical systems. The fine-tuning argument often incorporates consciousness as a central element, noting that the fundamental constants of the universe appear extraordinarily well calibrated to allow for the emergence of complex life and awareness. Advocates of this argument suggest that the emergence of self-reflective beings capable of pondering the nature of reality points toward intentional design, often attributed to a divine intelligence. Critics caution that the existence of consciousness alone does not necessitate divine involvement, emphasizing instead that our current understanding remains incomplete and that consciousness may naturally arise under suitable conditions of complexity and organization. The study of consciousness across non-human animals adds yet another layer of insight. As research delves into the mental lives of dolphins, elephants, octopuses, and many other species, we uncover sophisticated problem-solving abilities and social behaviors that challenge conventional assumptions about awareness. These findings suggest that consciousness is not a solely human trait, but may be a widespread feature of life, prompting reflections on the potential universality of mind. Some scholars speculate that if consciousness pervades the natural world in this manner, it may hint at a universal or cosmic intelligence, a concept long echoed in spiritual traditions envisioning a divine, interconnected consciousness underlying existence. In the vast interplay between science, philosophy, and spirituality, the questions surrounding consciousness continue to inspire profound inquiry. Whether through the lens of artificial intelligence, quantum mechanics, or comparative cognition, each exploration nudges us closer to understanding not only the origins and mechanisms of consciousness, but also the potential contours of divine intelligence. In this ongoing journey, human curiosity remains the compass guiding us through mysteries that are at once deeply personal and cosmically expansive, challenging us to rethink the nature of awareness, the scope of intelligence, and the profound enigma of existence itself. Moreover, the investigation into animal consciousness unveils an astonishing spectrum of cognitive capabilities across the natural world, ranging from the most basic reflexive responses to the profound emergence of self-awareness. Observing this diversity compels us to rethink our traditional notions of intelligence and consciousness, suggesting that the divine, or what some might term cosmic awareness, cannot be confined to the narrow parameters of a human-like mind. Instead, it may represent a vast, multi-layered, and all-encompassing form of awareness that transcends the limits of human comprehension. By expanding our perspective on consciousness, we open the door to entirely new ways of understanding intelligence on a cosmic scale, challenging the very assumptions that shape our understanding of thought, perception, and existence itself. The possibility of a universe suffused with divine consciousness raises profound ethical and philosophical questions. It challenges our conventional understanding of morality, free will, and personal responsibility, suggesting that all things might be fundamentally interconnected. In such a framework, the distinction between individual choices and the broader flow of cosmic intention becomes blurred. Acts we deem good or evil might be expressions of an intricate, unknowable pattern of universal consciousness, where negative events serve roles in a larger hidden design. This perspective calls into question our conventional approaches to justice and accountability, as it becomes increasingly difficult to assign blame or praise to individuals if their actions are ultimately expressions of a universal intelligence. Moreover, contemplating a cosmos imbued with divine awareness reshapes our ethical relationship with the natural world. If every element of existence participates in a larger conscious whole, humans might be morally compelled to treat the environment, ecosystems, and other living beings with far greater respect and consideration. This recognition could foster a holistic, interconnected ethical framework, one that extends beyond mere human-centered concerns and encompasses the entire web of life. Yet this vision also provokes difficult questions about our personal agency and growth. If our choices are manifestations of an overarching consciousness, how do we reconcile this with the undeniable human experience of learning from mistakes, exercising free will, and shaping our personal destinies? Grappling with these implications demands that we reconsider not only our ethical frameworks, but also the very nature of consciousness and existence in the universe. Parallel to these explorations, scientists have developed a variety of multiverse theories to account for the structure of our cosmos and the possibility of countless others beyond it. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics posits that every quantum event generates new, branching universes, creating an infinite array of realities where every conceivable alternate history or future exists in its own realm. Similarly, the concept of bubble universes envisions our cosmos as one bubble among a vast, expanding cosmic foam, with occasional collisions between bubbles leaving subtle imprints in the cosmic microwave background radiation. Some theorists speculate that these bubbles might operate under physical laws entirely distinct from our own. Expanding further into the realm of theoretical physics, the brane multiverse theory, derived from string theory, proposes that our universe is a three-dimensional membrane, or brane, floating within a higher dimensional space. Other universes might exist on separate branes, occasionally interacting with ours through the force of gravity. Meanwhile, the cyclic model suggests that the universe undergoes endless sequences of expansion and contraction, big bangs followed by big crunches, each potentially giving rise to new universes with differing properties. Collectively, these multiverse concepts challenge the notion of a singular, purposeful creation, suggesting instead a cosmos characterized by diversity, multiplicity, and ongoing transformation. For traditional religious and philosophical worldviews, these ideas present both disruption and opportunity. Conventional creation narratives often depict a single, deliberate act of divine creation, where the universe is designed with intentionality and purpose. Yet multiverse theories imply that our universe might be just one among countless others, each with its own laws and properties. The apparent fine-tuning of our universe for life could thus be a product of cosmic variation rather than divine intervention. These considerations provoke deep questions about the nature and scope of a creator. If multiple universes exist, did a divine intelligence orchestrate them all, or might natural processes generate universes without conscious guidance? The theological ramifications are profound. Monotheistic traditions, for instance, must confront whether God's creative power extends to infinite universes and what that implies for humanity's role within creation. Some theologians argue that a multiverse could reinforce the concept of a divine creator, suggesting an even greater magnitude of power and creativity required to bring such complexity into existence. At the same time, multiverse theories intersect with philosophical considerations of free will and moral responsibility. In scenarios where every possible outcome manifests in parallel universes, conventional notions of choice, consequence, and ethical accountability are deeply challenged. Yet this perspective may also illuminate new interpretations of divine omniscience, predestination, and cosmic intentionality. Religious traditions around the world have historically confronted scientific insights that challenge established creation narratives. The multiverse provides a fresh frontier for theological reflection, offering opportunities to envision creation on a scale that encompasses infinite possibilities. Eastern philosophies, including Hinduism and Buddhism, resonate particularly well with multiversal concepts, given their cosmologies of cyclical creation, destruction, and rebirth. These traditions interpret multiple universes as expressions of the infinite nature of reality, reinforcing teachings about interconnectedness and the boundless scope of existence. Abrahamic faiths, including Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, respond in more varied ways. Some adherents perceive the multiverse as a testament to the boundless power of God, arguing that a being capable of creating one universe could conceivably bring forth many. Others perceive a challenge to the unique significance of our world and humanity's central role, necessitating reinterpretation of sacred texts and doctrines. Across traditions, the multiverse invites believers and philosophers alike to expand their understanding of divine creativity, cosmic scale, and the profound mysteries of existence, prompting reflection on humanity's place within an unfathomably vast and intricate cosmos. In the intersection of science, philosophy, and theology, the study of consciousness and multiverse theories pushes the boundaries of human understanding, compelling us to reconsider intelligence, morality, creation, and our interconnectedness with the universe. It is a journey into the unknown, where every discovery opens new questions, and every perspective challenges us to think beyond the familiar, inviting us to glimpse the vast tapestry of existence in all its complexity and wonder. Ultimately, the intersection of religious narratives with multiverse theories represents a profound and ongoing conversation between the realms of faith and science, revealing the remarkable adaptability of human thought. It reflects a deep-seated desire to bridge spiritual beliefs with the rapidly expanding knowledge of our cosmos. The idea of a multiverse, an ensemble of potentially infinite universes, each with its own laws of physics, provokes questions that go far beyond science, touching the very core of theological inquiry. If such a multiplicity of universes exists, what does that mean for the nature and scope of God? Does a single divine presence govern every universe simultaneously, or might there be multiple divine entities, each presiding over its own cosmos? These considerations push the boundaries of traditional theology and invite a radical rethinking of omnipotence, omniscience, and divine oversight. The concept of multiple universes also challenges long-standing ideas of creation and design. If infinite variations of reality exist, each with its own physical constants and laws, does this lessen the significance of intelligent design, or does it instead suggest an even greater cosmic architect capable of orchestrating a complexity beyond human comprehension? In this light, the existence of a multiverse might not weaken the argument for a creator, but instead magnify it, implying a deity whose creativity spans beyond a single reality. Moreover, if God possesses absolute knowledge and power, Could such a being perceive and influence events across countless universes at once? This question stretches human understanding of divine attributes and compels us to reconsider the nature of free will, determinism, and moral responsibility across parallel realities. Ethical and philosophical considerations also take on new dimensions in the multiverse framework. For instance, if infinite universes exist, some might be devoid of suffering, while others could operate under entirely different moral laws. This scenario raises profound questions about the nature of good and evil and whether our universe represents the best possible configuration. Traditional notions of divine justice are placed under scrutiny. How does a creator ensure fairness and equity across such a vast expanse of realities? If some universes teem with intelligent life while others remain barren, what does this disparity reveal about divine intention and the intrinsic value of existence itself? The multiverse also intersects intriguingly with the anthropic principle, which observes that our universe seems precisely tuned to support life. Within a single universe perspective, this fine-tuning has often been invoked as evidence for a designer. Yet, in a multiverse scenario, the apparent precision of our universe could emerge naturally. Among countless universes, some will inevitably have the right conditions for life, and we find ourselves in one of those by necessity. This perspective does not eliminate the possibility of God. Rather, it reframes the discussion. Some argue that even a multiverse implies an underlying creative principle, a cosmic architect capable of generating infinite possibilities, thereby maintaining a role for the divine while expanding the scale of creation. Questions of ethics and morality also gain new layers of complexity. If a divine being is responsible for multiple universes, each with unique laws and forms of life, what moral obligations accompany such creative power? How do we reconcile suffering and hardship in less hospitable realities with a vision of divine justice? Furthermore, if alternate versions of ourselves exist across different universes, each making different choices, what does that imply about free will and personal accountability? Multiverse theories challenge the traditional understanding of moral responsibility, suggesting a reality in which outcomes are contingent on myriad possibilities rather than a single deterministic path. The implications for theology are equally profound. Arguments both for and against the existence of God are reshaped by multiverse concepts. Fine-tuning argument, a classic case for a creator, must now contend with the idea that countless universes could exist, each with different physical constants. The fact that one of these universes happens to support life may be a statistical inevitability rather than a sign of intentional design. Yet, some thinkers maintain that the multiverse might actually underscore divine grandeur. An infinitely creative deity could purposefully craft a boundless tapestry of realities, demonstrating power, imagination, and infinite potential. Even within a multiverse, the notion of a first cause, a prime mover setting the entire cosmic framework into motion, remains philosophically compelling. Infinity, a cornerstone of multiverse theories, radically expands our conception of reality. The idea of limitless space and time allows for an uncountable number of universes, each distinct yet part of a larger whole. This notion of infinity has intriguing theological parallels. Omnipresence, the divine attribute of being everywhere at once, finds resonance in a cosmos where all possible realities coexist simultaneously. Similarly, omniscience, perfect and complete knowledge, can be imagined as the awareness of infinite possibilities spread across infinite universes, extending divine comprehension beyond the limits of human imagination. By exploring the multiverse, humanity is not only stretching the boundaries of science, but also expanding the horizons of philosophy and theology. It prompts us to rethink creation, morality, divine justice, and the very nature of existence itself. In this grand narrative, the multiverse is not merely a scientific hypothesis. It becomes a lens through which the mysteries of life, purpose, and the divine can be contemplated on a scale as vast as the cosmos itself, challenging old certainties and inviting new ways of understanding our place in an infinitely complex universe. However, it is crucial to recognize that the connections drawn between multiverse theories and divine attributes reside primarily in the realm of philosophy, rather than empirical science. Multiverse hypotheses emerge from intricate mathematical models, some hints of observational evidence, and extensive theoretical extrapolation, yet they remain speculative and unproven, existing on the fringes of contemporary physics. These theories force us to confront the concept of infinity, a notion that defies conventional understanding and challenges the limits of human imagination. By contemplating an infinite number of possible universes, each potentially governed by distinct physical laws, we are compelled to reconsider what is genuinely possible and what lies beyond the horizons of our comprehension. In this way, the multiverse does not merely extend the boundaries of physics, it intersects with metaphysical inquiry, prompting profound questions about existence itself, the scope of our universe, and the tantalizing possibility of realities entirely beyond human grasp. Philosophers and scientists alike continue to probe these questions, sparking debates that fuse rigorous intellectual analysis with existential wonder. In the context of a multiverse, traditional ideas of divine providence and intervention undergo a profound transformation. The existence of numerous coexisting universes challenges the conventional notion of a single, unified divine plan governing all creation. Each universe, unfolding according to its own set of physical rules, complicates the picture of a deity orchestrating specific events. Rather than focusing on discrete interventions within one world, the divine influence might be reimagined as establishing the foundational principles underpinning all possible realities. Some theologians and philosophers contend that the notion of multiple universes strengthens the case for a divine creator, arguing that orchestrating the conditions necessary for countless universes requires a mind of unparalleled magnitude. Others, however, propose the opposite, that the sheer diversity and abundance of universes could account for apparent fine-tuning and complexity purely through chance, potentially reducing the need for a traditional conception of God. The multiverse concept also prompts reconsideration of attributes such as divine omniscience and omnipotence. If a deity is aware of and able to influence an almost infinite array of universes, our understanding of free will, predestination, and moral responsibility may need significant revision. Religious doctrines could be interpreted in new ways when situated within a framework that accounts for an almost limitless spectrum of possible realities. Throughout human history, philosophers have wrestled with the nature of reality, offering insights that continue to shape scientific, spiritual, and cultural thought. In Western philosophy, rooted in ancient Greek traditions, reality is often viewed as an objective external world accessible to reason and empirical observation. Plato, for example, posited that true reality consists of perfect, immutable forms that exist beyond the physical world, a realm of ideals underlying the transient world perceived through our senses. By contrast, Eastern philosophies such as Buddhism and Hinduism often conceive of reality as interconnected, dynamic, and at least partially illusory. Buddhism suggests that what we perceive is a projection of the mind, urging us to recognize impermanence and the emptiness inherent in all phenomena. Hinduism introduces the concept of Brahman, an ultimate reality that transcends and unifies all existence. Modern Western philosophy has continued to challenge traditional assumptions. Phenomenology emphasizes the role of conscious experience in shaping reality, while postmodernism questions the very possibility of universal truth. Quantum physics, with its counterintuitive findings about subatomic behavior, further destabilizes our classical understanding of reality, suggesting that the fundamental building blocks of existence operate in ways that defy everyday logic. These diverse perspectives influence not only theoretical physics and metaphysics, but also spiritual practices, cultural worldviews, and individual perceptions of life. They remind us that our grasp of existence is mediated by historical, cultural, and personal contexts, and that any claim to absolute understanding must be approached with humility. The interplay between perceived reality and absolute reality has captivated human thought for millennia. In Eastern traditions, concepts such as Maya propose that the world as experienced by our senses is an illusion, a partial and imperfect reflection of a deeper truth. Through meditation and disciplined spiritual practices, one might transcend this illusion to perceive a more fundamental reality. Western thought has also grappled with these questions. Plato's allegory of the cave presents the notion that ordinary experience may be only a shadow of a higher truth, an idea that has shaped centuries of philosophical reflection. Modern scientific insights intersect intriguingly with these philosophical concepts. Quantum mechanics, for example, demonstrates that microscopic scales, particles behave in ways that appear to defy deterministic laws, prompting reconsideration of whether the everyday solidity of reality is genuine or a convenient approximation. The simulation hypothesis, a contemporary intellectual experiment, proposes that our universe might be a sophisticated digital construct, orchestrated by entities far more advanced than ourselves. These hypothetical simulators occupy a role analogous to that of divine creators in many religious traditions, capable of shaping and controlling our world. This raises profound questions about consciousness, existence, and the layers of reality that might lie beyond our immediate experience. While the hypothesis offers fertile ground for thought, it remains a speculative framework rather than a scientifically verified truth. Idealism, the philosophical perspective that reality is fundamentally mental or spiritual, provides another lens for contemplating divinity. If all existence emerges from consciousness rather than matter, God can be envisioned as the ultimate mind or awareness underlying reality itself. This conception resonates with traditional theological views of an omniscient, omnipresent deity while dissolving the strict separation between spirit and matter. Within an idealist paradigm, the physical world is not merely created by God. It is a direct manifestation of divine thought, rendering the cosmos an intimate extension of consciousness. Such a framework also offers new interpretations of divine interaction with time, space, and human experience, reframing questions of eternity, intervention, and free will. Materialist philosophies, by contrast, approach questions of divinity with empirical skepticism. Materialism asserts that reality is fundamentally physical, governed by natural laws and the interactions of matter and energy, without recourse to supernatural explanation. From this standpoint, the apparent order and complexity of the universe emerge through evolution and natural processes, rather than divine intervention. Critics of materialism argue that it struggles to account for consciousness, subjective experience, and the ultimate origin of the cosmos, areas where purely empirical explanations may be insufficient. Taken together, these diverse lines of inquiry, from multiverse speculation to idealist and materialist philosophy, paint a picture of reality that is astonishingly complex and multidimensional. They reveal a cosmos that is simultaneously mysterious and mathematically structured, where the boundaries between science, philosophy, and theology blur. In contemplating the universe, its possible infinities, and the nature of existence itself, humanity continues a centuries-old exploration, seeking understanding while embracing the vastness of the unknown. However, materialists counter that what we perceive as mysterious or transcendent emerges naturally from the extraordinary complexity of physical systems. They argue that consciousness, emotion, and even the sense of the divine are not supernatural phenomena, but the results of intricate neural processes, an orchestra of biology and chemistry giving rise to the symphony of awareness. Our lack of full comprehension, they suggest, does not imply the existence of a supernatural realm, but rather reflects the limits of current human understanding. From this viewpoint, every mystery is an invitation, not to worship, but to investigate. Materialist philosophy, therefore, champions science as humanity's most reliable instrument for exploring reality. Rational thought and empirical observation replace faith as the primary tools for unveiling the truth, grounding our understanding in evidence rather than belief. Consciousness, then, becomes both the window and the mirror of existence. Through it, we interpret every flicker of sensation, every pattern of meaning, and every notion of God. It is not merely a passive observer, but an active shaper of our perception. The human brain, with its billions of neurons and trillions of connections, creates a self-aware universe within itself. Out of electrical signals and chemical exchanges arises the astonishing experience of being. This inner light allows us to ask questions that stretch beyond survival or instinct. Why are we here? What is real? Is there something beyond? Consciousness, in this sense, is both the stage and the actor, the source of our greatest wonder and our deepest confusion. It is through this lens that humanity has always sought to explain the inexplicable. From the earliest cave paintings to modern cosmology, we have woven stories to give meaning to existence. Ancient peoples, gazing at the stars, imagined gods dwelling among them. Today, we use telescopes and quantum equations to reach for the same answers. Yet beneath these evolving interpretations lies a shared drive, the need to understand our place in a vast, often indifferent cosmos. Our consciousness has fueled both myth and mathematics, faith and physics. It has inspired art, philosophy, and the relentless curiosity that pushes us to map the very boundaries of the universe. But the relationship between consciousness and reality is not one-sided. As we uncover new truths about the world, our inner landscape shifts. Each discovery expands the limits of what we can imagine. When Galileo saw the moons of Jupiter, humanity's sense of cosmic order changed. When Darwin traced the lineage of life, our understanding of ourselves transformed. And as quantum physics reveals a universe stranger than imagination, where particles exist in multiple states and observation itself may alter reality, our concept of existence continues to evolve. The more we learn, the more we realize that consciousness and reality are entangled, shaping and reshaping each other in a dance as old as time. Quantum physics in particular has opened doors to mind-bending possibilities. The many worlds interpretation suggests that every quantum decision spawns countless parallel realities, universes branching endlessly, each containing a different version of events. In this view, the cosmos is not a single story, but an infinite library of possible outcomes. Somewhere, every choice you could have made, every life you could have lived, plays out in another world. Such an idea stretches not only scientific imagination, but also spiritual thought. If infinite universes exist, might some contain beings who resemble gods? Could a divine presence exist across all of them simultaneously, or none at all? In a reality where all possibilities unfold, creation itself becomes perpetual, a ceaseless act rather than a single moment in time. The concept of a creator transforms from a being outside the cosmos to a process embedded within it, manifesting through the continuous unfolding of possibility. Yet for most of us, the question of the divine is not found in equations or theories, but in personal experience. We encounter the sacred, or what feels like it, in fleeting moments. A sunrise that stirs something wordless, an overwhelming sense of connection, an improbable coincidence that seems too meaningful to ignore. These experiences shape our individual understanding of God, the universe, and ourselves. They can inspire faith, awe, or a deep curiosity about the unknown. However, personal experience is a double-edged lens. It illuminates but also distorts. What one person interprets as a divine message, another might dismiss as the workings of the brain. A spark of neurotransmitters misread as revelation. Our culture, upbringing, and beliefs filter how we interpret such experiences, reminding us that reality as we perceive it is always partly a creation of the mind. Science and philosophy urge caution, encouraging us to balance subjective experience with objective inquiry. The warmth of belief and the rigor of evidence need not be enemies, but partners in the quest for truth. History shows this delicate balance in motion. During the Islamic Golden Age, scholars saw no contradiction between faith and reason. They mapped the stars, advanced medicine, and explored mathematics, all while viewing knowledge as a pathway to divine appreciation. In Buddhist traditions, scientific discovery is often embraced as another expression of the quest to understand consciousness itself. Even in the West, where tension between science and religion has been more pronounced, thinkers continue to bridge the gap, seeing science as an exploration of how the universe works and spirituality as a meditation on why it exists at all. As we step into the digital frontier, new technologies like virtual and augmented reality add yet another layer to these questions. These immersive tools allow us to create entire worlds, altering how we perceive space, time, and even identity. The boundaries between the real and the simulated begin to blur. If we can craft realities indistinguishable from our own, what does that say about the nature of existence itself? Could our universe, too, be a simulation, an elaborate construct designed by an intelligence beyond comprehension? The simulation hypothesis takes the ancient question of creation and reframes it in digital terms. Instead of a divine being molding clay, we imagine a programmer crafting code. Yet the essence remains the same. We seek the architect behind the cosmos, whether we call it God, nature, or the system. And so humanity continues to stand between mystery and knowledge, between faith and evidence, between what is known and what can only be imagined. Consciousness remains our greatest instrument, a self-reflective flame lighting the vast expanse of the unknown. As we explore deeper into the fabric of the universe, we may find that the answers we seek are not waiting in the stars or the equations, but in the very act of questioning itself. Furthermore, augmented reality has begun to blur the boundaries between the digital and physical worlds, layering streams of virtual information directly onto the environments we inhabit. Imagine walking down a familiar street while seeing digital annotations hovering above storefronts, or encountering representations of sacred spaces or divine figures superimposed onto everyday surroundings. This technology does more than enhance our surroundings. It has the potential to fundamentally transform the ways people experience spirituality and faith. A devout individual might, for instance, perceive a virtual manifestation of a deity in their own living room, creating encounters that are at once intimate and surreal. Such experiences could redefine how humans understand divinity, shifting the locus of religious engagement from distant temples or texts to the immediate, augmented space around them. At the same time, these developments provoke profound ethical questions about consciousness and moral responsibility. If we are capable of creating virtual entities that exhibit lifelike behaviors, at what point might these entities be regarded as sentient or deserving of ethical consideration? This inquiry challenges our deeply held notions of life, the soul, and the uniqueness of human consciousness in relation to any divine creator. In a similar vein, the concept of infinity serves as a bridge between mathematical abstraction and theological contemplation, revealing both parallels and contrasts between these realms. In mathematics, infinity refers to quantities without limit, extending endlessly in every direction. It manifests in simple forms, such as the sequence of natural numbers that continues forever, or the infinitely many points lying along a straight line. Theological interpretations, however, often attach infinity to the nature of God, describing a being whose power, knowledge, and presence are without bounds. Unlike mathematical infinity, which can be rigorously defined and manipulated within precise systems, theological infinity resists such formalization. It encompasses not just endlessness in quantity, but also perfection and completeness that lie beyond human understanding. Yet, despite their differences, both mathematical and theological notions of infinity stretch our minds beyond ordinary experience, compelling us to grapple with ideas that cannot be fully measured or contained. The groundbreaking work of mathematicians such as Georg Cantor illuminates these intersections. Cantor's exploration of set theory and different magnitudes of infinity revealed that not all infinities are equal. Some are larger than others. This hierarchy resonates with theological reflections on God's nature, hinting that the infinite can exist in degrees, and that divine attributes might similarly be understood in nuanced layers rather than as a monolithic absolute. Cantor's notion of the absolute infinite equated with God posits a level of infinity that lies entirely beyond human comprehension, echoing theological descriptions of a transcendent and ultimately unknowable deity. In this way, mathematics offers new conceptual tools for contemplating age-old questions about God, creation, and the relationship between the finite and the infinite. Mathematical infinity can be further subdivided into countable and uncountable types, each with theological parallels. Countable infinities, such as the set of all whole numbers, extend endlessly but can be enumerated in principle, evoking ideas of eternal existence or infinite knowledge, where moments or pieces of information could theoretically be arranged in order. Uncountable infinities, like the set of all real numbers, are larger and cannot be organized into a simple sequence, suggesting an even more expansive notion of divine omnipotence or omnipresence that surpasses human ability to fully grasp or categorize. These abstractions provide a conceptual scaffolding for thinking about divine attributes, highlighting the complexity and vastness of what might otherwise remain ineffable. Yet it is crucial to remember that while mathematical infinities are constructs of thought, divine infinities in religious contexts are often regarded as real and absolute. So these analogies serve to provoke reflection rather than assert equivalence. Infinity also features prominently in cosmological arguments for God's existence. Many of these arguments explore the origins of the universe through causality. For instance, classical cosmological reasoning posits that everything that begins to exist must have a cause, and since the universe itself began to exist, it too must have a cause. Infinity enters the discussion when considering the possibility of an infinite regress of causes. Some philosophers argue that such an unending chain is logically impossible, suggesting the necessity of a first cause, often identified as God, that itself is eternal and uncaused. Others distinguish between potential and actual infinities, claiming that while potential infinities can exist in abstraction, actual infinities cannot manifest in reality. These arguments continue to provoke debate, particularly in light of modern cosmological theories that offer alternative explanations for the universe's origins. Mathematics and theology intersect again in their treatment of paradoxes. Consider Hilbert's hotel, a thought experiment where a fully occupied hotel with infinitely many rooms can still accommodate additional guests. Such counterintuitive scenarios mirror theological paradoxes, where omnipotent and omnibenevolent attributes of a deity must be reconciled with the existence of suffering and evil. Both fields force us to confront ideas that exceed conventional logic, challenging cognitive frameworks and intuition alike. The notion of eternity in religion mirrors these mathematical explorations of infinity. Just as mathematicians distinguish between different sizes of infinity, theologians reflect on divine timelessness, pondering how a being might exist beyond temporal constraints, yet maintain complete awareness of all events. The concept of absolute infinity stretches even further, encompassing the totality of all possible infinities and providing a framework for contemplating a supreme, limitless deity. Many traditions suggest that only God can embody such absolute infinity, encompassing all forms of boundlessness simultaneously, a notion that compels reflection on the limits of human understanding and the nature of existence itself. Mathematical concepts such as infinite decimals and infinite series provide further analogies for divine action. Infinite decimals quantities so small that they approach zero without ever reaching it can be likened to subtle forms of divine intervention that are imperceptible yet consequential. Infinite series, sums that extend endlessly but may converge to finite values, echo the idea that an infinite divine presence can manifest in finite, comprehensible ways. Limits, a foundational concept in calculus, model the human endeavor to approach understanding without ever fully attaining it, paralleling spiritual journeys toward comprehending an ultimately infinite deity. Set theory, too, offers a framework for thinking about divine omniscience. Infinite sets, whether countable or uncountable, challenge notions of completeness and totality. If divine knowledge is an infinite set, it could encompass all other infinities, incorporating every possibility and fact beyond human comprehension. This resonates with theological concepts of timelessness, where God perceives all of history simultaneously rather than sequentially, aligning with the idea of actual infinity in mathematics. Through these analogies, mathematics and theology intersect in profound ways, providing new avenues to explore the mysteries of existence, the nature of divinity, and the relationship between the finite and the infinite. The interplay of augmented reality, infinity, and divine concepts underscores a larger narrative. Humans are constantly pushing the boundaries of perception, cognition, and imagination. Whether through technology that reshapes our sensory world or abstract reasoning that stretches our minds into realms of the infinite, these explorations challenge us to reconsider what it means to exist, to know, and perhaps even to touch the divine. They reveal that at the intersection of mathematics, theology, and technology lies a rich terrain where questions about consciousness, eternity, and the infinite are not merely philosophical. They are actively lived experiences shaping the human understanding of reality itself. Moreover, set theory's deep dive into the continuum hypothesis and the hierarchies of infinity opens a window into one of humanity's most profound philosophical and theological questions, the limits of divine knowledge. When we examine the vast landscapes of mathematical infinity, we are confronted with puzzles that challenge even the concept of omniscience. Could there exist knowledge that transcends God's understanding? Or does the notion of divine omniscience inherently encompass all possible levels of infinity, from the countable to the incomprehensibly vast? Here, Mathematics becomes not merely a language of numbers and symbols, but a rich vocabulary for probing the contours of what a divine mind might comprehend. Infinity, in its many forms, stretches beyond mere calculation. It becomes a lens through which we can contemplate the nature of ultimate knowledge. Philosophers and theologians have long argued that the very idea of infinity points to a reality beyond our finite experience. Our human capacity to conceive of endless sequences, unbounded sets, and infinitely nested hierarchies hints at a world that surpasses the tangible physical universe. Within this context, proponents of the cosmological argument contend that an infinite regress of causes is logically impossible. They posit the necessity of a first cause, a prime mover or uncaused origin, which they identify as God. To set the universe into motion without reliance on prior causes, they argue, would require a being of infinite nature, a presence capable of encompassing all beginnings and ends. Yet the conversation is far from settled. Critics caution that mathematical infinity is, at its core, an abstract construct. It need not correspond to physical reality, and our understanding of it has evolved dramatically over centuries. Some apparent infinities in nature, whether in space, time, or quantity, often reveal themselves as finite upon deeper inspection. Thus, employing the concept of infinity as proof of divine existence risks conflating mathematical imagination with empirical reality. Moreover, if one assumes that God is infinite, paradoxes arise. How can a being that encompasses all things create something external to itself? Such questions illustrate the intricate dance between abstract mathematical thought and theological reasoning, showing how ideas conceived in the realm of pure logic can shape our understanding of existence, divinity, and the cosmos. Beyond the abstract realm, the interplay between divine intervention and the natural order has sparked centuries of inquiry. Believers often assert that God not only established the laws of nature, but retains the freedom to intervene, occasionally in ways that defy these very laws. Miracles, rare, extraordinary occurrences that seem to suspend or transcend the usual course of events, are frequently cited as evidence of such divine activity. Conversely, scientists approach the universe as a realm governed by consistent, predictable principles. From this perspective, events interpreted as miraculous may, in time, find explanation through natural processes not yet fully understood. History demonstrates this pattern. As knowledge expands, phenomena once deemed supernatural are often reinterpreted within the framework of natural law. Some philosophers and theologians propose a middle ground, suggesting that divine influence may operate subtly through the mechanisms of nature itself, rather than in opposition to them. The concept of theistic evolution, for instance, envisions a universe in which God guides the unfolding of natural processes without contravening scientific principles. This approach bridges spiritual belief with empirical observation, acknowledging divine agency while respecting the consistency of physical law. Even as science uncovers the mechanisms underlying the cosmos, questions about the origin, purpose, and ultimate significance of these laws persist, ensuring that exploration in philosophy and theology remains vibrant and ongoing. Miracles and their relation to the natural order are interpreted differently across religious and philosophical traditions. Within Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, miracles are often seen as tangible signs of divine presence, acts that either suspend or operate beyond natural law. Some theologians argue that miracles do not violate nature but occur within its framework, subtly guided by divine will. Others maintain that true miracles constitute direct interventions, suspending or overriding the very laws God has established. Meanwhile, perspectives influenced by deism or rationalist philosophy often regard miracles skeptically, suggesting that a perfect deity would have no need to intervene in a self-sustaining natural order. Modern theological discourse sometimes shifts focus from the literal occurrence of miracles to their symbolic or spiritual significance, exploring how extraordinary events inspire faith and reflection rather than seeking strict empirical validation. The relationship between divine sustenance and scientific law is similarly nuanced. Scientific laws, whether describing gravity, electromagnetism, or thermodynamic principles, map observable regularities in the universe, providing a framework for understanding how matter and energy behave. Some see these laws as evidence of an ongoing divine presence, a manifestation of God's intelligent design and maintenance of cosmic order. Others interpret these laws as autonomous, self-sustaining systems requiring no continuous divine intervention, a view aligned with naturalistic and empirical approaches to understanding reality. Importantly, science itself refrains from making claims about God's existence, focusing instead on observation, measurement, and testable hypotheses. The intersection of scientific law and theological interpretation therefore reflects not the limits of science, but the diversity of human reflection on meaning, causality, and existence. Quantum mechanics adds yet another layer to this discussion. The principle of quantum indeterminacy, where certain properties of particles cannot be simultaneously determined with precision, invites speculation about the ways a divine mind might interact with the material world. Some theologians propose that God could influence events at the quantum level, with minute probabilistic changes cascading into larger-scale phenomena, a concept sometimes termed quantum divine action. This idea seeks to harmonize the unpredictability observed in subatomic physics with the notion of purposeful divine intervention. Critics, however, caution that quantum effects generally average out at macroscopic scales, making it unlikely for such interventions to produce significant observable changes. Yet even this debate underscores a broader truth. The boundaries between science, philosophy, and theology are not rigid but porous, allowing abstract ideas like infinity, causality, and uncertainty to inform reflections on divine action, purpose, and the structure of reality. In every thread, whether contemplating infinite sets, the cosmological origins of the universe, the nature of miracles, or the probabilistic quirks of quantum mechanics, mathematical, scientific, and theological concepts intertwine. They offer us a vocabulary and a conceptual framework to explore questions that have captivated human thought for millennia. What is the scope of knowledge? Can the infinite be comprehended? How might a divine presence interact with a universe governed by law? And ultimately, what do our understandings of mathematics, physics, and metaphysics reveal about our place in a reality that is vast, complex, and profoundly mysterious? The dialogue between abstraction and experience, between the measurable and the ineffable, continues to shape the wrestle with these eternal questions, offering no final answers but ever-deepening insight into the cosmos and the divine. Additionally, there are scholars, philosophers, theologians, and even some scientists who express a subtle unease with the idea that quantum mechanics could be used to explain divine action. They worry that such a framework risks portraying God not as a transcendent creator, but rather as a tinkerer, delicately nudging particles in the subatomic world. It is crucial to emphasize, however, that these considerations remain largely speculative, deeply philosophical, and far from universally accepted. Quantum indeterminacy, this strange, probabilistic underpinning of reality, raises profoundly intriguing questions about causality, randomness, and the very fabric of existence. Yet, whether these quantum phenomena can illuminate the nature of divine intervention remains an open question, debated vigorously among thinkers spanning theology, philosophy, and physics. Religious traditions throughout human history have wrestled with this same tension. How to reconcile a universe in flux with the notion of an eternal, unchanging deity. Monotheistic religions such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam articulate God as fundamentally eternal, immutable, and existing outside the constraints of time and space. Within these frameworks, the universe may swirl with change, decay, and evolution, but God remains constant in essence, purpose, and will. Some theological interpretations propose that what appears to us as change and unpredictability is in fact a carefully orchestrated unfolding of God's timeless plan. From the perspective of the divine, events that seem chaotic or uncertain to human observers are predetermined, forming a coherent tapestry of meaning that stretches beyond temporal understanding. Other perspectives allow for a subtler nuance, that God's core attributes, love, justice, omniscience, remain unaltered, while divine interaction with the world may be dynamic, responsive, and adaptive, yet without compromising these fundamental qualities. Eastern philosophical and religious traditions offer contrasting, yet equally profound approaches. In Hinduism, for example, Brahman represents the ultimate unchanging reality, while the material universe cycles endlessly through creation, preservation, and dissolution. Buddhist thought, which eschews a creator deity altogether, instead emphasizes impermanence, the principle that all phenomena are transient, constantly arising and fading. Across these diverse perspectives, a central theme emerges: the apparent paradox between a stable, eternal divine principle and the ceaselessly changing universe is not easily resolved, yet each tradition seeks to illuminate it through its own conceptual lens. Many faiths suggest that human perception is inherently limited. What seems contradictory may, in truth, reflect the boundless, transcendent nature of the divine. Contemplating divine action in an infinite universe amplifies these philosophical puzzles. Scale becomes a profound concern. In a cosmos without end, for divine intervention to have a truly proportional effect, it would seemingly need to operate on an infinite scale. This invites difficult questions. Can any being truly possess infinite power, or might divine influence be necessarily localized, affecting only finite regions within the vast cosmic expanse? Similarly, causality takes on a perplexing character. If the universe is infinite, containing every possible event somewhere, does divine action create something new, or merely shift our awareness toward one of countless pre-existing states? The interplay between divine action and human free will becomes equally complex. In an infinite cosmos, there could exist endless versions of every individual, each making every possible choice. How does divine guidance function in such a reality? How can personal responsibility retain meaning if every potential outcome is realized somewhere in the infinite tapestry of existence? Beyond free will lies the question of ultimate purpose. If the universe is boundless, can there be a final goal toward which divine action works? What might cosmic evolution signify when every possible path unfolds endlessly? Insights from complex systems and the principle of emergence offer a fascinating dimension to this discussion. Emergence demonstrates how intricate patterns and behaviors can arise from simple components without a guiding hand. Human consciousness emerges from billions of interacting neurons. Ant colonies display astonishingly sophisticated organization arising from the actions of individual ants. Some thinkers propose that divine influence could operate in a similarly subtle manner, guiding outcomes through the inherent unpredictability of complex systems, working within natural laws rather than overtly violating them. Critics counter that emergent complexity does not inherently imply intelligent design, noting that natural processes alone often produce behaviors and structures that appear purposeful or directed. The ethical dimensions of divine intervention are equally profound. If a deity intervenes in human affairs, questions arise about the nature of free will and moral responsibility. Would constant divine guidance stifle human growth, leaving individuals dependent on external correction rather than cultivating their own ethical judgment? Conversely, proponents suggest intervention might prevent catastrophic outcomes, acting as a safeguard or form of cosmic justice. This leads to deeper ethical inquiries. If divine influence occurs, is it applied equitably? Why do suffering and fortune seem so unevenly distributed across humanity? Such questions probe the very heart of theological and philosophical reflection on divinity. The relationship between divine providence and scientific causality has long been a subject of scrutiny. Providence posits that a higher being orchestrates events according to an overarching plan, imbuing the universe with ultimate meaning. Science, in contrast, seeks explanations grounded in observable, testable, and replicable phenomena, revealing the mechanisms through which the cosmos operates. From the movement of galaxies to the folding of proteins, science unravels the universe through natural laws, often offering explanations that do not require supernatural involvement. Some view these perspectives as fundamentally incompatible, while others strive for synthesis, suggesting that divine action might operate in harmony with the probabilistic and emergent structures of the universe rather than in opposition to them. In this ongoing dialogue, the boundaries between physics, philosophy, and theology blur, revealing the profound complexity of questions about God, infinity, and human experience. The universe, vast and mysterious, challenges both our scientific understanding and our spiritual imagination, inviting inquiry, contemplation, and a humility before the enormity of existence. Human curiosity, whether expressed in mathematical rigor, philosophical reasoning, or religious devotion, continues to probe these questions, revealing both the limits and the possibilities of understanding the cosmos and the nature of divinity. However, many thinkers argue that science and faith need not exist in opposition. Rather, they can occupy complementary realms of human inquiry, each addressing questions that the other cannot fully resolve. Science, in this perspective, excels at exploring the mechanisms and laws that govern the natural world, describing the how of phenomena from the behavior of subatomic particles to the expansion of the universe. Faith, on the other hand, steps into the domain of meaning, purpose, and moral understanding, seeking to answer the deeper why questions that empirical observation alone cannot satisfy. Advocates of this view often envision a universe in which divine intent operates through the very laws of nature that science uncovers. In this sense, the orderliness of physical laws is not accidental but reflective of a deeper intentional structure. The intricate interplay between science and faith has shaped human civilization across millennia. Religious and scientific frameworks have each profoundly influenced the ways humans conceptualize existence, morality, and the cosmos. Central to much of theological discourse is the question of free will, a concept that lies at the heart of debates about divine intervention. The notion that humans possess genuine freedom to choose between right and wrong has occupied philosophers, theologians, and scholars for centuries. If our actions are predetermined, critics ask, how can individuals be held morally accountable? Many traditions propose that free will is a necessary condition for moral responsibility. In this model, humans are granted autonomy by a higher power to make decisions, sometimes noble, sometimes flawed, thereby creating the context for ethical judgment and spiritual growth. Yet, the argument becomes far more complex when one considers an omniscient deity. If God knows every future event, including each human choice, does that knowledge undermine the reality of free will? Some theological frameworks attempt to reconcile these tensions, suggesting models of divine foreknowledge that allow for human autonomy while preserving the concept of an all-knowing deity. These discussions are far from settled and continue to inspire rigorous philosophical and spiritual debate. Adding another layer of complexity is the question of divine intervention. If a higher power occasionally acts within the world, does such interference restrict human freedom? Or does it simply create a new context in which choices are made? The subtleties of this issue have been explored in countless religious texts, philosophical treatises, and mystical reflections, illustrating the enduring human fascination with the intersection of power, knowledge, and responsibility. The human brain, shaped by millions of years of evolution to navigate a finite and predictable world, faces intrinsic difficulties when attempting to conceptualize notions like infinity and divinity. Infinity, by definition, eludes boundaries and constraints, defying the mind's natural tendency to categorize, measure, and limit. The result is a cognitive tension. We instinctively search for limits where none exist, and paradoxes frequently emerge when finite reasoning is applied to endless or boundless concepts. Divinity presents a similar challenge. The idea of an all-powerful, all-knowing being operates outside ordinary rules of cause and effect, outside the linear flow of time, and beyond material limitations. These concepts stretch the mind in ways that can feel almost impossible, because our cognitive architecture is optimized for survival in a tangible, predictable world, rather than for comprehending the transcendent. Language and culture further shape, constrain, and sometimes expand our ability to engage with such abstractions. Words are the primary tools we have to articulate experience, but every language imposes limitations on the concepts it can express. Some spiritual or philosophical ideas may lack precise equivalents in certain languages, making nuanced expression difficult or even impossible without metaphor and analogy. Cultural context compounds this effect. Societies construct unique symbolic systems, religious narratives, and philosophical frameworks to explain phenomena that surpass ordinary understanding. These frameworks both illuminate and obscure, emphasizing certain aspects of the divine while leaving others shrouded in mystery. Despite these cognitive and linguistic limits, humans have continually sought ways to grapple with the infinite and the divine. Philosophy, poetry, art, and interreligious dialogue serve as vehicles to transcend immediate perceptual constraints. Metaphor, analogy, and narrative provide scaffolding for thought, enabling reflections on ideas that elude concrete experience. Intuition plays a particularly vital role in this process. While logic and observation anchor us to tangible reality, intuition allows humans to extrapolate from the finite to the infinite. Through intuitive reasoning, we imagine endless numerical sequences, the boundless stretch of the cosmos, or the presence of a reality greater than ourselves. Intuition also underpins spiritual perception. Individuals across cultures report experiences of a transcendent presence, a sense of interconnectedness, or awareness of a reality that cannot be fully articulated in words. These experiences often form the foundation of religious belief and moral understanding, bridging the gap between the limitations of human cognition and the expansive mysteries of the universe. By embracing both reason and intuition, humans can approach concepts of infinity and divinity not as fully knowable phenomena, but as profound realities that shape thought, culture, and ethical life. In essence, the dialogue between science, faith, free will, and human understanding of the infinite is an ongoing exploration, a journey that challenges both intellect and imagination. It reveals not only the boundaries of knowledge, but also the remarkable capacity of the human mind to reach beyond the immediately observable, seeking meaning and comprehension in a universe that is far larger, older, and more mysterious than our everyday experiences might suggest. This continuous striving to understand, explain, and feel our place within the cosmos is a defining feature of humanity, reflecting both our curiosity and our capacity for wonder. However, intuition, that subtle and often seductive guide of human thought, can mislead us when navigating the labyrinth of highly complex concepts. Our innate sense of understanding, shaped by evolution, personal experience, and cultural narratives, sometimes collides with rigorous scientific findings or the structured logic of formal reasoning. This clash underscores a fundamental truth. Intuition alone is an unreliable compass in the quest to grasp the universe and our place within it. To approach reality with clarity, we must balance instinctive judgments with critical thinking, rigorous analysis, and empirical evidence. Cognitive biases, the invisible architects of our thought patterns, profoundly shape our beliefs about the cosmos, divinity, and the very fabric of existence. These mental shortcuts, honed over millennia to facilitate rapid decision-making, can paradoxically obstruct deep reflection and critical thought. One of the most pervasive is confirmation bias, where individuals instinctively seek information that reinforces pre-existing beliefs while dismissing or ignoring contradictory evidence. This tendency can solidify religious, spiritual, or cosmological convictions without ever subjecting them to rigorous scrutiny. Similarly, patternicity, our predilection to perceive meaningful patterns in randomness, encourages the attribution of divine intent or supernatural causation to natural phenomena, from the formation of galaxies to the occurrence of rare cosmic events. Anchoring bias further complicates our understanding, as first impressions or initial pieces of information disproportionately influence subsequent judgments, making it difficult to revise beliefs even when confronted with compelling new evidence. The availability heuristic amplifies the problem, causing us to overestimate the importance or likelihood of events that are easily recalled, often skewing our perception of how the universe truly operates. Collectively, these cognitive tendencies erect invisible barriers that distort our understanding of reality. Yet recognizing and actively countering them offers a path toward clearer, more objective insight. The implications of mathematical logic add another layer of profound complexity. Kurt Gödel's incompleteness theorems, revolutionary in their scope, demonstrate intrinsic limits to human knowledge within formal systems. The first theorem asserts that in any sufficiently sophisticated mathematical framework, there exist true statements that cannot be proven using the system's own rules. In practical terms, this implies that no matter how comprehensive our models, whether in mathematics, physics, or cosmology, some truths remain perpetually beyond the reach of formal demonstration. The second theorem compounds this intellectual humility by showing that a system cannot prove its own consistency, suggesting that even our most reliable reasoning frameworks rest on foundational assumptions that cannot be conclusively verified. Together, these theorems illuminate a sobering possibility. Complete and absolute knowledge of reality may be forever unattainable, constrained not by human ingenuity alone, but by the inherent structure of logic and proof itself. Quantum physics, with its radical departure from classical notions of certainty, offers another frontier where the limits of human comprehension become starkly visible. The observer effect, where the act of measurement influences the very behavior of particles, challenges the traditional separation between observer and observed. At the quantum scale, our attempts to measure, categorize, or understand phenomena fundamentally alter their outcomes, revealing an intimate and unsettling connection between consciousness and physical reality. This entanglement suggests that our perception of the universe is not a neutral window onto objective truth, but an interactive process in which knowledge seeking itself reshapes what is observed. Instruments and sensory perception, no matter how technologically advanced, inevitably imprint themselves upon the systems under study, obscuring the ultimate nature of the phenomena we seek to uncover. In this light, consciousness emerges not merely as a passive witness, but as a participant in the unfolding tapestry of reality, hinting at a profound interconnectedness between mind and matter. Throughout history, thinkers from every culture have wrestled with these boundaries of understanding, particularly in relation to God, divinity, and the cosmos. The argument from divine hiddenness poses a compelling dilemma. If an all-powerful, all-loving deity exists, why is its presence not unmistakably clear to all? The absence or ambiguity of divine revelation suggests either the non-existence of such a being or the inherent limitations of human comprehension. Philosophers such as Immanuel Kant framed the problem in terms of cognitive boundaries, proposing that human perception and reason are constrained in ways that prevent us from accessing ultimate reality, or things in themselves. From this perspective, our knowledge of God, the cosmos, and the deepest structures of existence may always be partial, filtered through the lens of finite human cognition. The vastness and complexity of the universe itself magnify these epistemic limits. Each scientific breakthrough often generates more questions than answers, expanding the frontier of ignorance, even as our grasp of specific phenomena deepens. The horizon of knowledge perpetually recedes, suggesting that a complete unified understanding of the cosmos, or any divine agency behind it, may remain forever out of reach. Yet scientific naturalism offers a counterpoint, asserting that the physical universe is all there is, and that given sufficient time and intellectual effort, humanity could in principle uncover everything there is to know. Even within this framework, the practical enormity and intricate complexity of the cosmos render the task of comprehensive understanding daunting, if not ultimately elusive. Mystical and transcendent experiences add yet another dimension to this exploration. Across cultures and centuries, such experiences have inspired wonder, skepticism, and scientific curiosity alike, challenging conventional models of consciousness and reality. Neuroscientific research reveals that these profound states often correspond with specific patterns of brain activity. Areas linked to self-awareness and sensory integration may diminish in activity, while regions associated with emotion, memory, and holistic processing intensify. The resulting phenomenology, a sense of unity, timelessness, and ineffable insight, offers tantalizing glimpses into dimensions of consciousness that conventional science struggles to explain. Such experiences remind us that the boundaries of human understanding are not solely cognitive but experiential, encompassing realms of perception and awareness that defy easy categorization. In sum, the pursuit of knowledge, whether through mathematics, physics, philosophy, or introspection, is a journey marked by both illumination and limitation. Cognitive biases, logical constraints, the observer effect, and the sheer magnitude of the cosmos all underscore the provisional nature of human understanding. Yet in acknowledging these boundaries, we are not defeated but invited into a deeper engagement with mystery, curiosity, and wonder, a pursuit that is as much about the journey as any final, perhaps forever elusive destination. However, these neurological discoveries, while remarkable, provide only a partial window into the profound and deeply personal experiences that individuals often describe as mystical. Brain scans and cognitive studies can map the electrical impulses and chemical fluctuations associated with these moments, but they cannot fully capture the sheer intensity, the ineffable awe, or the life-altering significance reported by those who undergo them. Countless individuals recount emerging from such experiences with insights or understandings that feel as though they transcend anything previously known to them. These revelations often challenge conventional assumptions about the limits of human knowledge, suggesting that reality may harbor dimensions that elude empirical observation or logical deduction. At the same time, these encounters underscore the immense complexity and mystery of consciousness itself. They reveal the vast swathes of ignorance still lying beyond the reach of human comprehension, illustrating that our perceptual and cognitive faculties, however sophisticated, might only skim the surface of existence. They serve as invitations to probe deeper, to investigate further, and to remain open to phenomena that defy conventional frameworks. Scientific inquiry and philosophical reflection are continually reminded that the human mind, despite all its achievements, is but a lens that captures only fragments of the cosmos' full grandeur. Faith in this context functions as a lens of profound significance. For countless individuals, faith provides not only solace, but also a structured framework through which to interpret the vastness of the universe and one's place within it. While empirical science strives to uncover the mechanisms underlying the cosmos, mapping stars, deciphering molecular interactions, and charting the expansion of galaxies, faith often turns toward the questions science cannot easily answer. Why does the universe exist? What is our ultimate purpose? What lies beyond the observable? For many, these questions are inseparable from their spiritual or religious lives, shaping how they live, what they value, and how they interpret the unfolding of events around them. Throughout human history, religious and spiritual beliefs have significantly influenced the interpretation of cosmic phenomena. Celestial events, from eclipses to comets, were often seen as divine messages, omens, or markers of cosmic order. At times, these interpretations collided with emerging scientific understanding, generating tension between faith-based and evidence-based perspectives. Yet, history also reveals countless instances of synthesis, communities and individuals reconciling their religious convictions with scientific discoveries, finding harmony rather than conflict. Some embrace the view that science and faith are complementary, science elucidating the mechanics of existence, faith providing moral and existential meaning. Others maintain a more compartmentalized approach, treating faith as a personal odyssey into ultimate purpose while leaving empirical investigation to science. In either case, faith continues to shape human inquiry, bridging the gap between knowledge and mystery. Meanwhile, advances in artificial intelligence and cognitive science are radically expanding our understanding of human cognition and its limits. The development of AI systems capable of processing vast quantities of data, recognizing complex patterns, and even learning autonomously has offered unprecedented insight into the nature of intelligence itself. Neural networks inspired by the structure of the human brain reveal both the extraordinary potential of our own cognitive faculties and the boundaries that constrain them. Machines excel at rapid calculations, massive data storage, and pattern recognition, tasks that can overwhelm the human mind. These capabilities underscore the limitations of human memory, processing speed, and attention. Yet they also highlight uniquely human strengths: creativity, empathy, moral judgment, and the ability to navigate ambiguity, areas where machines, even highly advanced ones, remain limited. Cognitive science has similarly deepened our appreciation of human decision-making, revealing the nuanced interplay between emotion, intuition, and logic. Brain imaging studies have demonstrated that rationality is not a rigid, uniform function, but rather a flexible, context-dependent process shaped by past experience, emotional states, and environmental cues. This understanding invites us to reconsider traditional notions of human cognitive limits, suggesting that our potential is both broader and more malleable than previously believed. Religious and spiritual traditions offer further perspectives on humanity's future, envisioning trajectories that are as varied as they are profound. Many faiths share a central hope: the evolution of humanity toward greater spiritual maturity, ethical awareness, or divine alignment. In Christianity, eschatological visions focus on the second coming of Christ, a final judgment, and the eventual establishment of a renewed cosmos. These narratives emphasize both personal salvation and societal transformation, reflecting a dual concern for the individual soul and collective destiny. In Islam, the concept of a final judgment, tempered by the promise of divine guidance and earthly justice, underscores moral accountability and the pursuit of righteousness. Hinduism and Buddhism, with their cyclical understandings of time and reincarnation, frame human destiny as a continuum of growth, enlightenment, and liberation, situating individual lives within vast cosmic cycles of creation, decay, and renewal. Across these traditions, there is a shared recognition of human potential, yet the means, timing, and ultimate ends of that potential vary dramatically. Emerging technological paradigms, particularly the notion of a technological singularity, challenge traditional religious understandings of human destiny. The prospect of artificial intelligences surpassing human intelligence provokes fundamental questions about consciousness, free will, and the soul, concepts long intertwined with theological reflection. For some, creating superintelligent machines borders on assuming a godlike role, raising ethical dilemmas regarding the responsibility of creators towards sentient beings and the boundaries of human authority. Others posit that such advancements could bring humanity closer to understanding the deepest mysteries of existence, perhaps shedding light on the nature of the divine itself. Yet the singularity also destabilizes assumptions about human uniqueness. If machines exceed us in intellect and capability, how do we reinterpret our status as beings created in the divine image? The implications reverberate across religious thought, ethical philosophy, and cultural imagination, forcing a reevaluation of purpose, meaning, and the sacred. Transhumanist philosophies intersect compellingly with these debates, envisioning the enhancement of human cognition, physiology, and longevity through advanced technologies. Concepts like radical life extension, cognitive augmentation, and even the merging of human consciousness with artificial intelligence confront traditional theological ideas of mortality, the soul, and divinely ordained human limits. These visions challenge fixed notions of human nature, suggesting that evolution, biological, technological, and spiritual, may be a collaborative process between humanity and the tools it creates. They invite reflection on the boundaries of human identity, the essence of personhood, and the evolving relationship between human agency and divine providence. In weaving together the insights of neuroscience, cognitive science, artificial intelligence, religious tradition, and transhumanist thought, a vivid portrait emerges. Human experience exists at the intersection of knowledge and mystery, of tangible capability and ineffable wonder. Mystical encounters remind us of the unexplored realms of consciousness. Faith provides frameworks for existential questions. Science illuminates the workings of reality, and technology expands both our reach and our ethical responsibilities. Together, these domains reveal a universe that is at once comprehensible and profoundly enigmatic, urging continued exploration, reflection, and awe. However, some thinkers contend that transhumanist concepts do not exist in isolation from spiritual or religious thought, but rather can intersect with and even enrich certain theological perspectives. From this vantage point, technological enhancement, the augmentation of human capacities through science and innovation, can be interpreted as an extension of humanity's innate creativity, ingenuity, and ability to shape the world. For those inclined toward this view, such innovation might be seen not merely as human enterprise, but as a continuation of divine inspiration, gifts bestowed upon us to explore, create, and improve. In this context, pursuing transhumanist objectives, whether in cognitive enhancement, lifespan extension, or physical augmentation, could be framed as an act of stewardship, a conscious fulfillment of a sacred responsibility to nurture, refine, and elevate both ourselves and the broader world around us. The conversation at this intersection is not merely theoretical. It opens a profound dialogue about what it means to be human, the potential we hold for transformation, and the moral and existential responsibilities that accompany that potential. It challenges long-standing assumptions about the limits of human nature while inviting reflection on the interplay between spiritual purpose and scientific ambition. In exploring these questions, we are compelled to re-examine the very notion of destiny, reconsidering whether human advancement can be viewed as a form of sacred duty, and whether the tools we create might serve not only our individual desires, but a broader cosmic order. Simultaneously, humanity's quest to understand its place in the universe through the search for extraterrestrial intelligence adds another layer of complexity to this exploration. As we peer into the vastness of space, scanning for signs of life beyond Earth, we confront profound questions of uniqueness and significance. Are we a singular intelligence, an exceptional anomaly, or one node in a potentially vast network of civilizations scattered across galaxies? Each signal sought, each telescope aimed at distant stars embodies a dual pursuit, an outward quest for cosmic neighbors and an inward reflection on our technological and intellectual limits. The very act of searching necessitates ever more sophisticated instruments, prompting advancements in engineering, computing, and observational science. In contemplating what forms alien life might take, we are forced to imagine intelligence radically different from our own, challenging the anthropocentric lenses through which we interpret consciousness and social organization. Simultaneously, this endeavor encourages reflection on our own civilization's trajectory. How long might technological societies endure? How feasible is interstellar communication or travel? And what lessons might the survival or extinction of other civilizations teach us about our own future? These considerations have practical consequences, shaping policies, ethics, and long-term strategies aimed at sustaining human progress in an uncertain cosmic environment. Moreover, the very possibility of contact carries transformative potential for human culture, philosophy, and scientific understanding. The recognition of extraterrestrial intelligence could trigger a paradigmatic shift in our worldview, compelling us to redefine human significance in an expansive, perhaps inhabited universe. The relationship between human evolution and concepts of divine guidance remains equally intricate and frequently contentious. Decades of scientific inquiry have yielded robust evidence for evolution by natural selection, demonstrating that humans share a deep ancestry with other primates and have been shaped over millions of years by incremental genetic variation and environmental pressures. Yet, this evidence is sometimes seen as at odds with literal interpretations of divine creation. In contrast, other perspectives propose that evolution itself may be the instrument through which a divine entity orchestrates life, a view commonly referred to as theistic evolution. Under this interpretation, natural processes such as mutation and selection are not random or purposeless, but unfold within a framework established by a higher intelligence. Evolution, then, is not a contradiction of divinity, but a mechanism through which it operates, harmonizing scientific observation with spiritual belief. Ultimately, while biology describes the how of human development, questions about ultimate purpose, moral significance, and divine intention remain within the domains of philosophy and theology. The rise of human enhancement technologies further complicates the ethical landscape, particularly when viewed through the lens of religious teachings. Many traditions emphasize the sanctity of human life and regard the body as inherently sacred, a creation imbued with divine significance. Altering this natural or God-given state raises concerns about hubris, moral overreach, or the perception of playing God. Critics argue that pursuing enhancements could distract from spiritual growth or lead to societal inequities, especially if access to augmentative technologies is restricted to privileged groups. Yet others within faith communities propose that using technology responsibly to improve health, cognition, and longevity can reflect the fulfillment of human potential, a form of honoring the gifts of intellect and creativity endowed upon us. This debate extends beyond mere utility, engaging questions of justice, compassion, and moral responsibility, illustrating how technology, ethics, and theology are deeply intertwined. Similarly, reflections on the ultimate fate of the universe illustrate fascinating parallels between scientific and religious thought. Many religious traditions envision a transformative end of the world, an eschatological event often suffused with moral and spiritual significance. Scientific cosmology, while operating on incomprehensibly vast temporal scales, also projects dramatic changes in the far future. The death of stars, the cessation of star formation, and even the decay of matter itself. While the timescales differ by orders of magnitude, both approaches grapple with existential uncertainty and the human desire to comprehend ultimate destiny. The juxtaposition of eschatology and cosmology invites dialogue about meaning, responsibility, and the search for purpose amid the vast forces that shape existence. Prophecy and divine revelation have long shaped humanity's visions of the future, offering frameworks for anticipating social, moral, and cosmic developments. Across cultures and eras, prophecies have ranged from apocalyptic warnings to utopian forecasts, influencing individual behavior, societal norms, and collective priorities. Similarly, divine revelations, perceived as direct communication from higher powers, have guided ethical, cultural, and even scientific pursuits. These narratives encourage contemplation of long-term futures, inspiring action in accordance with moral, spiritual, or communal objectives. In doing so, they intersect with scientific explorations, as both seek to understand the trajectory of humanity and the universe, albeit through different methodologies, one through empirical observation, the other through spiritual insight. In sum, the intersections of transhumanism, religion, evolution, cosmic exploration, and eschatology form a rich, multidimensional conversation about humanity's place in the universe. They compel us to consider not only what is possible through technological and scientific advancement, but also what is meaningful through the lenses of faith, morality, and philosophical inquiry. Engaging with these questions challenges us to expand our understanding of intelligence, purpose, and destiny, simultaneously exploring the outer cosmos and the inner realms of human thought and belief. Each thread, from genetic evolution to the search for alien life, from technological augmentation to visions of divine guidance, reveals the intricate tapestry of forces that shape human identity, ambition, and imagination. However, it is crucial to recognize that the influence of prophecy and divine revelation on visions of the future is far from uniform, varying widely across cultures, societies, and individual experiences. In some communities, these mystical insights serve as essential guides, shaping decisions, behaviors, and expectations about what lies ahead. Prophecies may be studied with reverence, interpreted as messages that illuminate humanity's path, and woven deeply into social, political, or spiritual life. In other societies, however, these same notions are approached with caution, skepticism, or even outright dismissal, as empirical evidence and scientific reasoning take precedence over faith-based foresight. Here, the focus shifts to measurable trends, predictive models, and rational methodologies as the primary means to understand and shape humanity's future. Within this complex interplay between belief and reason, concepts such as collective consciousness and the so-called new sphere introduce additional layers of philosophical and spiritual depth. Collective consciousness, a term articulated by sociologist Emil Durkheim, refers to the shared beliefs, moral values, and societal norms that bind communities together, creating a cohesive cultural fabric. The new sphere, introduced by thinkers Vladimir Vernadsky and Tyler Desjardins, expands on this by envisioning an invisible yet encompassing layer of human thought, understanding, and knowledge enveloping the entire planet. When considered together, these ideas propose that humanity's combined mental and spiritual activities generate a form of unified awareness, a global cognitive field shaped by millions of minds interacting across time and space. Some thinkers interpret this unified consciousness as evidence of a grander, almost divine purpose for humanity. According to this view, as human knowledge accumulates, as empathy, awareness, and understanding grow collectively, we edge closer to discerning our role in the cosmic order. The evolution of collective consciousness is sometimes seen not merely as intellectual progress, but as a spiritual ascent, a movement toward a higher state of being. From this perspective, each individual contributes a unique strand of awareness to the fabric of humanity, participating in a process that may connect us to something greater than ourselves. This resonates with many religious and philosophical traditions that emphasize unity, interconnectedness, and the interdependence of all life, suggesting that human existence is not isolated, but part of a broader, harmonious design. Yet, it is essential to acknowledge that these notions, while intellectually and spiritually compelling, remain largely theoretical. Their acceptance varies considerably. Some scholars and spiritual practitioners embrace them as meaningful frameworks, while others critique them for lacking empirical validation. Debates over the reality and implications of collective consciousness and the new sphere continue in academic, philosophical, and spiritual circles, reflecting humanity's ongoing quest to understand its potential and purpose in the universe. The advent of space exploration and the possibility of colonizing other worlds magnifies these questions to unprecedented scales. As humanity pushes beyond Earth, conventional ideas about our role in the cosmos and our relationship with the divine are challenged. The act of settling distant planets forces profound reflection. Is humanity's expansion an expression of a divine mission, a fulfillment of an innate creative purpose, or is it a transgression, an overreach of our natural place in the universe? Each step into the cosmic frontier brings not only technological and logistical challenges, but also ethical, spiritual, and philosophical dilemmas, compelling humanity to reconsider centuries-old frameworks of meaning. The discovery of extraterrestrial life, even at the microscopic level, would intensify these questions. Religious and spiritual narratives that have historically centered on Earth and humanity's uniqueness might be transformed. Life elsewhere could be perceived as evidence of an abundant, creative force operating across the cosmos, reinforcing some theological perspectives, or it could destabilize deeply ingrained beliefs about human exceptionalism. Furthermore, the sheer scale of the universe, its immense distances, vast timescales, and incomprehensible complexity, forces a reevaluation of how divinity, eternity, and the meaning of life are perceived. Gazing across the stars, contemplating cosmic timelines that dwarf human existence, may inspire a form of spirituality grounded in the grandeur of the universe itself, encouraging a more expansive, universal perspective on existence and humanity's place within it. In this light, prophecy, collective consciousness, and the exploration of the cosmos converge, offering multiple lenses through which to view humanity's unfolding journey. They invite reflection on both the limits and possibilities of human potential, challenging us to consider not only what we are, but what we might become, individually, collectively, and as inhabitants of an ever-expanding universe. Through this intricate web of ideas, humanity's quest for understanding is revealed not as a purely intellectual pursuit, but as a deeply existential journey, bridging the tangible and the transcendent, the earthly and the cosmic.